Green Harbor Waterfront Lodging is nestled in a woodland setting on a picturesque ocean inlet. Green Harbor offers so much for a fun-filled yet affordable family waterfront vacation. Enjoy our private boating beach with ramp and dock, free rowboats and paddle boats, oversized heated outdoor pool and kiddie pool. You'll enjoy our attractive waterfront and beachside accommodations. So visit us online at gogreenharbor.com.
Internet services provided by Cape.com Incorporated. Established in 1994, Cape.com is the only locally owned and operated internet service provider on Cape Cod. Our specialties include e-commerce applications and design, wide area networking services, and high-speed DSL internet access throughout eastern Massachusetts. Cape.com continues to lead the way with cutting-edge applications, superior networking services, and quality customer support. For more information, visit us at www.cape.com or call us at 539-9500.
Board of Selectmen meeting, Town of Falmouth, Monday, August 10th, 2015. The board has just returned to executive session. I invite you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item are some announcements. I want to announce an action that the board has taken, that the board shall execute the revised special permit decision authorizing the modified dock at 59 Old Minot Road pursuant to the terms of a settlement agreement between the board and landowner. The board previously approved the revised special permit decision and settlement agreement on June 16, 2015, subject to satisfaction of two conditions. Those conditions, an amended order of conditions and a judgment of the land court approving the settlement agreement, have been satisfied. The revised special permit shall be effective on this date and shall be filed with the town clerk in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 17. Any questions from the board on this? Okay. Any other announcements from the board? Okay. Next on our agenda are public comment. If anyone would like to make public comment, please keep it to 2 minutes and keep it to items that are not on our agenda for this evening. Mr. Finneran?
Mark Finneran, Precinct 6. Last meeting we had an update on the two large projects we have going. The water filtration plant and the sewering project. As it's been the board's policy, I guess, lately, there was no public comment or question period during that. And there were a few things that were left out that I'd like to fill the public in on. First off, for the filtration plant, the company that we hired to do that, Methuen Construction, they're the same company that built our sewer plant 10 years ago and left town without ever finishing it. I'm sure all the people from West Falmouth remember that or are quite familiar with the sewer plant. And it's actually still not finished. They're telling us that we put $9 million into upgrades. The upgrades are actually just bringing it up to the numbers we paid for when we originally bought the plant. But as far as the filtration plant is concerned, also, the engineer that's doing that is the same engineer that designed that wonderfully successful water tower we have in Tech Park for Ballymead. That should make you feel comfortable. And as far as engineers, the engineer that designed the wastewater system on Little Pond, a friend of mine who worked for the town for years in the wastewater division saw the engineer, and he questioned him on the number of grinder pumps, which is up to 750. We were told that there were only going to be a couple hundred initially. And he asked him why they put so many of those things on private property when it's a public sewer system, and why they didn't just use vacuum sewers, that we'd only need a couple of pump houses and they could each have a generator. And there would be no problems, no issues. 750 people wouldn't have to buy generators to run their sewer pumps. And he told them that that's the way he was told to do it. So basically we got non-engineers telling engineers how to design our engineering projects. And as far as anybody that has a grinder pump, there's something you should know about those too, especially if people with just summer houses.
Mr. Finneran,
those grinder pumps tend to freeze up.
That's your 2 minutes, please.
So you can come back in the spring and find that it's not working. You have to pull it out of the ground.
Please sit down.
I don't believe it was 2 minutes. Usually you have your beeper going. Everybody else was getting 5, as you recall. But rules can change, especially people.
Anyone else like to have 2 minutes, please? Say what? No, go ahead.
Nancy Hayward, West Falmouth, Precinct 5. I have a sort of a question comment. I would have liked to have said this or asked about this before the start of your last meeting, and you had this list of things, and I guess you passed it on a blanket vote, although it was not totally clear because Mr. Jones made some comment which I didn't get, and this relates to the item which dealt with Eversource and conduits and handholds on Chapwick Road, Nashawina, and another street. And I had wanted to ask, and I still don't have the answer for it, and I'm not supposed to be asking you questions now. But certainly it's not at all clear to me. Maybe I should know what conduits and handholds are, but I don't, and I didn't find that out at the selectmen's meeting when you were passing something on this list of things. Thank you very much. And I guess my comment is if there are, I don't know if it's appropriate when you pass all those things to ask whether anybody has comments or not. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Chris Santos. I'm with an organization called Help End Cape Cod Heroin Addiction on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, out of Mashpee. I'm also on the Mashpee School Committee out there. I'm working with a nonprofit organization called the Open Doorway of Cape Cod on Eastham. We're trying to plan a relay run across Cape Cod that will essentially relay flags through each town on Cape, planting one flag on every town hall all the way down to Provincetown over the course of 2 days, September 26th and 27th. Recently I tried to inquire about information through the town clerk's office and did not receive an email back after about 3 weeks. I had come into town hall, spoke with a few individuals in the administration office and tried to get that information on how to file and get permission to come through the town, and was told that it's not going to happen. That I was not within the 60-day time frame when the original email was sent out. I was well within that time frame, but I did not hear any information back. When I come into town hall, it was last Friday, so I was only about 50-something days. And I sent an email to the town manager's office, received an email back saying that I apologize, but you're outside of the 60 days, so it's not going to happen. Now my comment about that is this is an epidemic that's happening Cape-wide, Massachusetts-wide, across the United States. This is something I'm trying to do to raise awareness to save lives in your town, across the Cape, and anywhere that it can be done. This is not something that I'm trying to do to make money for any organization. It's a nonprofit event. All I'm asking to do is there's approximately 30 runners that will be coming through this town, relaying, so there'll be groups of maybe 5 or 6 at a time. We're not talking a huge 50 to 100 people group running around the town. Plant one flag on Town Hall and continue on to Mashpee so we can continue this relay. The other piece to that, and this will be my final piece, is being also told that there's too many events going on in the town on that weekend. I looked up those events. One of them's happening north near 28A, which is the Zuma, so it's nowhere near the route. You'll see the route on your paperwork. Also, the MS Walk is happening the next day. Striper Fest is in a location that's not going to be anywhere near the runners, and it's going to be stationary. And the last one is the Dream Cruise, which is the bike relay, that's going to be coming through here, which shouldn't be an issue.
And if you turn the application in for this?
The application is right here. I can either give it to you or I can turn it into.
If it isn't turned in, there's no way there can be any response to it, so you need to turn the form in and see what can happen.
I understand. Yeah, I was told about this on Friday, so I want to make sure that I get an opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
My name is Joan Peters Gilmartin. I'm no longer a resident of Falmouth. I live in Truro, but I still pay taxes in this town on property that I own. I have been working with Chris on several projects to bring awareness and educate the public about the heroin problem on the Cape, and particularly the severity of the problem in the towns of Falmouth and Barnstable. In the month of June, we did a weekend project over a holiday weekend involving the major rotaries of the Cape, and had the full support of the local police, and it wasn't a major big deal to plant flags, over 300 of them on each rotary. So we're just talking about runners a small group running through the town and planting one flag. And this is a valuable project to raise awareness and to try to let communities, people in communities know that we support sobriety and that we want recovery in our communities. And also, next month, September, is National Addiction and Recovery Month. So Chris didn't note to you that he has also invited the governor to attend. And so it'd be kind of embarrassing, I think, for Falmouth to be the only town that says no if the governor shows up. So I ask you please to reconsider the, the thoughtfulness of this campaign. And also, it seems a little incongruent that you have a brew fest going on that weekend, but addiction and recovery is sort of not going to be allowed. It just seems incongruent.
We just need the process to move forward, please. Next.
I'm Elaine D'Ambrosio. I live at 5 Montgomery Ave in the Heights. And Montgomery Ave is not part of the sewerage program, plot plan. And I was just wondering what needs to be done in order to, if you want to join, have it done onto your own. I have bought a property on Grand Ave that my neighbor said I could, she has no problem running a line through her property into mine, which is a short distance. And I was just wondering if there have been any exceptions where you're allowing somebody who abuts to join into the program?
We asked that if people are interested, that they contact the DPW or Jared Batamus to get information about that.
I already spoke to you. Yeah. Okay.
Mrs. Rod?
Where's the brew fest?
I don't know. Hi. Thank you. My name is Ron Zweig. I'm from Precinct 1. I'm also the town's representative on the board of the Cape Light Compact, and I hope you don't boo me off the podium tonight. But the days are getting shorter, and we need to start thinking about energy efficiency, even in the summer, but as well as in the winter. So there are programs for businesses and for residences, and those programs, they do an energy assessment of your home and look at different things, change all your light bulbs to either CFLs or LEDs, and help with insulation, different thing. And the number to call for that is 800-797-6699. So it's 800-797-6699. And in conjunction with the Cape Light Compact, there is, which is supported by the Cape Light Compact, is the Housing Assistance Corporation's Energy Efficiency Program that addresses households that are below the 60% of the area median income level. And there are better programs or more less costly programs that are provided for low-income households. So I suggest that anyone who hasn't looked into the energy efficiency programs of the Cape Light Compact, that you may wish to do so. There's a huge advantage to the town. There's a huge advantage to the climate, and as well as your pocketbooks. So I'd like to thank you. And as I always say, our operators are waiting. And the number, 800-797-6699 for the Cape Light Compact, and 508-771-5400 for the Housing Assistance Corporation. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, our next item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from recent meetings. First is from the July 13th, 2015.
I have several changes. I've provided a written copy to our reporting secretary, Jennifer. And I think these are important enough to get them straightened out since the wording is a little bit ambiguous. Well, first of all, on page 2, a very minor.
This is from the very 13th or from the 24th? 27th.
I'm sorry, the 27th.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
First we have is July 13th.
Oh, excuse me.
I'm looking for the 13th. Page 7.
Page 7.
Page 7.
Okay. Are we on July 27th or the 13th?
The 13th.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, page 7. I did have one thing. Oh.
These are
Yes.
some corrections we made last meeting. We have them now in front of us.
I just, at the very top there, you talk about Chairman Jones read the motion in the packet and the motion to adopt the order of betterment assessment, but I don't see the text for that at all in here. And I would think for the record, we would want to include the text of that motion.
Okay. I think that's a good change to add to it, but it's not really changing the minutes, but I think for it to be attached to these minutes is a good idea.
That would be fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think the reason they're in our packet is because we did a discussion on item 4 from page 7, where we changed some of those from
Right.
2 to 3.
I understand.
Okay. A motion to approve?
So, second.
Yes, Ms. Flynn, motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're going on to the July 27th meeting.
Yes,
Closed session.
If I can, on page 2, we have at the very bottom, under C, executive session, it says, Ms. Moran motion to approve and not release second, and it says inaudible, and put my name in there if you want to make it complete.
I think that's who it was, David. I was trying to remember that.
It's okay. I'm volunteering anyway. On page 10, there's a repetition in the next to the last paragraph. If you look at that one in the previous paragraph, you could probably just strike that next to the last paragraph. See, I'll let you take a quick look and see if you agree.
So strike the whole second to last paragraph?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just redundant.
Yep.
On page 11, the very last paragraph seems to be always at the end of the page. Mark Finneran, Precinct 6, says the town did not need a 21E, but I think his point was that the town did need, the town did not do a 21E because it was a cash sale. I think that was Mark's point. And later on, I think that was corrected by Barbara Schneider. Or no, it was, excuse me, by Virginia Carmichael. But that wording is not correct because I think he was asserting that the town did not do a 21E because of the cash sale.
Okay.
Just straighten that out. The next is a rewording of comments that I made, and I think because it's a discussion about the Spring Bars Road project, that we kind of need to make sure that that's a reasonable representation. And I certainly am not saying that I remember everything verbatim, but I wanted to at least kind of clear up the points. And so I reworded that paragraph and submitted a copy. And I have it written this way if you want to listen, and you can decide whether you think it actually matches what your memory is. It would read this way.
Which minutes are you doing now?
This is still the
Still the
August
same.
27th.
Page 12.
Page 12, the top paragraph, the very first paragraph. And I would have written it more closely this way. Mr. Patterson stated that the parcel is not located in a velocity zone. In the case of rare hurricane flooding, residents will be evacuated and property damage will be repaired for reuse. There is a recognized need for more affordable rental housing for employees of many businesses and of many municipal department positions. Young, disabled, and elderly residents often need affordable rental housing due to their limited incomes. Many current employees have to live outside of Falmouth to be able to afford a year-round housing. Maintaining a viable community depends on adequate housing. Massachusetts has set a goal of 10% affordable housing for each municipality. I think that kind of covers what was mentioned. I'll be happy to entertain any corrections.
Also on page 12, the second, it's the Affordable Housing Committee is Holly Wilson.
That's correct. And if everybody else is comfortable with that one.
Okay.
Also on page 12, the 10th paragraph is the abbreviation HH, and Heather, please help me, but I gather that's referring to comments that you made. I would have rewritten that this way to make it a little bit more understandable. And it would read, Heather Harper commented that Heather McElroy and the Cape Cod Commission's report indicated the Spring Bars Road town property is zoned industrial. That was changed when CPC funds were used to purchase the property for affordable housing. The area surrounding this parcel has been developed for intensive business use. The Board of Selectmen will have to work with the Planning Board to assure use of this property for affordable housing results in a resilient neighborhood. What's that?
Sounds good. The only, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
The only change I would make was I would have said that was effectively changed with the CPC acquisition because the property is still zoned industrial.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Did you catch that, Jennifer? Okay.
Thank you.
And then the last correction I would, oh no, I'm sorry, one more. The third from the bottom, there's a miswording there. It says Virginia Carmichael, Vice Chair for CPC. The second sentence, there is no precedent, not president. You might want to change that word, put the correct word in there. Just obviously slip. And then the last change is on page 14. It had to do with my comments relative to the Lawrence School Windows project. And I actually have gotten a couple of inquiries from individuals about that, particularly as it had to do with disability access. And so I wanted to actually clean it up a little bit, and there's some misrepresentation of the comments I intended to make if I didn't make them explicitly. So I would reword that paragraph as Mr. Patterson attended the kickoff meeting for the Lawrence School Windows project. The architect and the project manager reported on several trade-off decisions they were considering. Using thermal insulating glass instead of hurricane-proof glass was one trade-off, since there would be no children in the building during a hurricane, and there are no plans to use the Lawrence School for a storm emergency shelter. The architect and project manager also discussed using muntins for windows on the front of the building to give it the historical look of the original small pane windows, but not use them on the back of the building to save money. The possible elimination of skylights in the shop and art rooms would reduce a security issue without significantly reducing the lighting in the area due to the use of modern light fixtures. This area would be roofed over to again save money and eliminate the likelihood of leaking windows in the future. The architect suggested keeping 30-inch doors at the front center entrance of the building and for the auditorium front entrance. Both have a flight of steps leading to them from the outside, which prohibits wheelchair access. 36-inch doors would be used at either end of the front of the building and at the left front of the auditorium to provide safe wheelchair access.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes with those changes?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're going to now actually have to take a break from our minutes. We have some public hearings. They are advertised at a specific time. So the first is a public hearing. It's a wetland hearing. This is for reconstructing an existing bulkhead. And I'll need to read the notice of the hearing. Just a minute, please. The Falmouth Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing under Section 240-77 wetland regulations of the zoning bylaws of the Town of Falmouth on Monday, August 10th, 2015, continued from June 29th, 2015 at 7:30 p.m. in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, Falmouth Town Hall, in the application of Daniel and Lisa Gorin for the proposed construction of the existing bulkhead in the same location as the old wood bulkhead. New vinyl sheet pile will be finished with a wood wall cap located at Lot 159 and Lot 160 Seapit Road, East Falmouth. Area affected is Seapit River. Interested parties may review the file of this hearing at the Selectman's office. Publication date Friday, July 24th, 2015, and Friday, July 31st, 2015. The applicant.
How you doing? I'm Jeff Ryder with BSS Design. I did bring an extra sheet if anybody needs a drawing.
That would be helpful. Thanks.
I didn't know how many were in your package.
Jeff, you have to use the microphone, please.
Okay, again, we're at 194 Seapit Road. This is on the Seapit River down in East Falmouth. Locust map will show you where in the spit we're located. This is an existing wooden bulkhead, 160 feet long, and it's dilapidated and started to tip in, and the bottom is rotted out. Rather than going back to wood, we proposed a vinyl sheet pile to be driven directly behind the existing wall, and a wooden cap be placed on it. That's detailed here on the section AA. And there's a top view here of the bulkhead, this zigzag line through there. That's the style of sheet pile we're using, so we don't have to dig back into the bank with any tie rods. So this is strong enough. It's only 3 to 4 feet tall. We've been through conservation, got an order of conditions, and we're ready to get this fully permitted so we can reconstruct. I guess that's about it. There was one revision. The commission asked for a couple of changes, and so we did that. Well, I'll take your questions.
Questions from the board?
I just want to say this was continued, was it not,
Yes.
from a previous date?
But we have not started the hearing.
No, I know, but that's why I'm thinking that I have already reviewed this myself in terms of the, usually we see docks that go along with this, and there is no dock associated with it. It's just replacing the bulkhead.
Right. The existing dock, by the way, is licensed, and the license number is here, and that's in good shape.
So that doesn't need any reconstruction or repairs?
No, we're all set there. That was recently, I think it was done before it was sold. It's new owners.
So now using the microphone again.
I think the only thing we were going to discuss, we didn't have the conservation report at the time. And I think now that we have, and that would be the new part of anything we didn't have at the last time. And there's really nothing, I mean, there are special conditions that are outlined here, but I don't see anything of significant import for the board on the special conditions at all.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
I can find them here.
Could you just, Jeff, again, through the mic, in the plan right here, there are a whole bunch of trees that are right along that embankment. Are those all going to be remaining?
These here?
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to be working off the barge and reaching right over to the back of the wall and then driving in. No tieback, so everything back here is going to remain.
The idea is to put the vinyl in first and then pull the wood out?
Well, it's going to be a little of back and forth on that one. That was the commission's change. We initially had it in front, but they wanted to maintain the salt marsh and not, chunk into it. So we decided, okay, well, we'll do it in behind. It's a little more work, but it can be done.
And the closest place from the building to the new wall is going to be about 29 feet, is that what it is?
29 here, that was more of a zoning issue there. But
I just have one question about the plantings, because that's a significant part of this project, the
planting?
The plantings that...
Well, plantings are actually a conservation requirement for this area. That was, this is a vacant lot that was, merged into 159. And this area here was dumped branches and leaves and things, sort of the neighborhood came down. So we have to pull that out and then replant that. So
that's where
that's the main replanting. There will be some disturbed areas here. I can't say everything's going to be perfectly, there's going to be people back there working, putting that cap together. So I do have a restoration of, there's a note for restoring anything disturbed behind.
Well, I thought it was rather significant, though, that in the special conditions, that condition 3, which relates to the plantings, has to be registered with the deed. So I'm not sure exactly why, since it's not, as you describe, it's not really on or near the bulkhead, it's behind the bulkhead.
Right, they just, well, an order of conditions has to be recorded at the registry, so that's basically what they're referring to.
Any other questions? Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to this application? Are there any other questions from the board before we close the hearing? I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to close the hearing. Mrs. Moran and Mrs. Flynn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is closed. Now would the board like to act on this?
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the bulkhead reconstruction plan at 194 Seapit Road, East Falmouth, as printed on the proposed map.
This is the date plan
Dated February
24th, 2015.
Well, actually, March 30th,
the revisions?
2015 were the revisions.
There you go. And can we add in conformity with the special conditions of the Conservation Commission?
Sure.
Sure, it's,
I'll second.
that goes, we can say it, but
Yeah.
we can't do it without it anyway.
It's included.
So the motion is second to approve, following the conditions put on by the Conservation Commission. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. The ayes have it. Congratulations.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck. Do we have any executive session minutes that we are prepared to move and approve? We have the executive session minutes from June 29th, items 2, 3, and 4, that we had asked just to have one little thing added to them. I entertain a motion to approve the minutes, items 2, 3, and 4 from June 29th.
And not released.
Did not release.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Next, we have executive session minutes from July 27th, 2015.
I had one correction to those, but I've already spoken to her about the correction. It's really fairly minor. So
Is this on the item 2?
Items 1 and 2.
I just,
yes, it's item 2. Let me see.
on for item 2, the 1, 2, 3rd paragraph, it doesn't really give any units for the 140 and the 210, but I assume that's the
100,000
financial numbers, right?
Yeah, there's 100,000.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we'll add those 3
Well,
zeros.
I would just make one other correction. I think the attorney's name is Brabowski, B-R-A. Where's the name? B-R-A-B-R-O-W-S-K-I.
So with those
With those-
edits,
I move approval for the meeting minutes of Monday, July 27th for both 1 and 2.
motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. We'll move on to our next hearing. This is a fee hearing. As provided under Chapter 119 of the Code of Falmouth, a public hearing will be held in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, Falmouth Town Hall, on Monday, August 10th, 2015, at 7:45 to establish and promulgate fees, which are effective as of Tuesday, August 11th, 2015, to be charged by town departments and agencies, except as provided by Mass General laws, the School Department, Planning Board, Library, Town Clerk, Town Treasurer, and Collector of Taxes. What's being proposed or being recommended for our discussion and to hear from public input, and on this particular item, is having to do with a consolidated application. And this is for in the Little Pond Sewer Project area. And this is for a permit that's consolidated that would include a sewer service permit, a trench permit, a plumbing permit, and a Title V septic abandonment permit. And there would also be some of those consolidated permits with an electrical permit. What's been proposed by the staff is a $95 fee for those that are just the sewer service, the trench, the plumbing, and the Title V septic abandonment, and a proposed fee of $112.50 for those permits if it were with an electrical permit. I'll just note that those are half the cost of what it would be under the old system if they had all been isolated. I'd like to just comment on the hearing we're going to have this evening. And we're going to hear from the board, have them make some comments and ask questions. I'm going to entertain, as it is a hearing, for the public comment, and I'd like to ask that the public keep their comments to discussion about these fees. We will have further discussion on other items of this, but the public hearing for tonight is on the cost for the consolidated application. From the board.
I'll start.
Okay.
In terms of allocating expenses between the town and the homeowners, we already have voted a betterment for the major part of the project. And what we're considering now is more literally out-of-pocket documents for people who in some instances might be on limited income. When you're talking about improvements to property and the benefit that having the sewer in your community, in your neighborhood, how that raises the value of your property, I think it makes sense to have a reasonable amount of that betterment go to the homeowner. But in the case of fees, where in this project, additional administrative costs have been figured into the total number, we should consider lower fees. Now, the staff has already recommended a 50% lower fee. I would be more in favor of going even lower than the 50%, more towards 25, 30%.
Okay. I would also like to consider that it be the same whether it is with the grinder pump electrical fee or not. And that because we've been talking all along, we wanted to try to equalize the cost whether you had the grinder pump or not. So in addition, I'd be interested in that proposal, but would love to say no matter what it's going to be, it's the same cost no matter what.
But that's not on our agenda for tonight, the
Sure
grinder pumps. The grinder pumps?
I'm saying right now there are two fees. The fee is with electrical permit and without the electrical permit. Two different costs, and I'm suggesting that no matter, it just be one fee. If you're doing the Little Pond Sewer Project, it's $1 whether you're doing electrical or not.
Okay.
I would agree with that. That it would be the same regardless, because I don't think any of the families had any choices in whatever they have in their home. And they didn't really have any choices of the septic system coming. So I would say that one should not be any higher than the other. They should all be the same. That seems fair to me.
And so what are you proposing for that the fee be reduced to?
The 50% number, if you include Doug's suggestion of parity, whether there's an electrical permit or not, would be $190. I'm saying cut that. The proposed fee right now is, the recommended is $95 or $112. I would say cut the $95 in half to $50 for a round number. I said.
Okay.
50 for
and that 50 would
50
apply whether it's a grinder pump or whether it's a connection.
I'd like to make that a motion.
So it would be the same fee for both.
Right. Well, we need to wait for the hearing.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yep, Sam?
Well, I have a question. I mean, I'm in the 30% betterment category. And I know that obviously we're going to have higher administrative fees for doing all of the inspections. And do we have a sense of how much more it's going to cost the town to cover this additional work so that we can ask ourselves how much we're contributing toward this if we cut these fees back considerably?
Well, Mr. Chairman and Selectman Patterson, the fees are set with the intent to cover the town's cost to provide these services. So any reduction that you grant is going to move the town away from the direction of covering the cost to do the inspections and the administrative costs related to them. So it's up to the board to determine how much of that subsidy you want to shift to taxpayers throughout the town, essentially.
Well,
a question on that?
Yeah.
It's included in the entire price of the project, though.
Inspection, the inspectors.
The inspectors.
These.
I don't think so.
No.
The inspectors are not.
I thought,
okay.
No, I thought the inspectors for the project were included in the overall cost of the project, that they were included in that. Well,
Mr. Patamas?
Yeah, Mr. Patamas would be.
I can't answer the shuffle up here. I'm Jerry Thomas, wastewater superintendent. I think some of the confusion is we have hired GHD to be the resident inspector to oversee our contractor, Robert B. Auer. As it pertains to individual connections, there are over 1,400 of them. That goes far and above my routine costs as O&M, and I'm sure the Board of Health's, the Aladio's costs, and the building department. I think some of those costs we anticipated will be covered by our contingencies. We always have staff coming and going. So the short answer is we have more costs that will be charged against the project, but they haven't been fully calculated because we're still trying to put in systems that even make it more efficient, like the consolidated permit process. But there is over 1,400 applications that have to be processed, and that is above and beyond the normal operating cost of any of the departments.
no, all right, let me just be clear. So these fees really represent the cost of the permits. And then there will be inspections of the work at some point. But the inspections of the work, I would think, would be, as Jerry just said, are part of the project. I'm not talking about inspections for the permits necessarily, or inspections to go to the property and see whether or not the installations were correct. These are just fees to be able to put these, to get the permits. These are really just to acquire the permits. They have nothing to do with the installation.
It's administrative processing fees, if I ask.
Exactly.
I know people don't like that term, but that's the
that's
closest
exactly
term.
what it is.
We're processing the paper.
It doesn't have
not the
anything
time.
to do with the grinder pumps or looking at or inspecting the septic systems, removal or whatever.
It's additional work to the town.
That's something else.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So we're really talking about obtaining permits. These fees are to obtain the permits to do the work.
Heather?
Just in order to release the permits, there really will be physical inspections by the health department, the electrical department, the plumbing inspector, and, did I get them all? The wastewater division. So each one of those 1,400 homes will have the physical inspection presence of at least one time, in some cases more than once, of the town inspectional staff. There will be required additional plumbing inspectors to oversee this project. Some of those costs will be covered by the project costs, some of them will not. Remember, the project will go over 18 months.
I just wanted to differentiate the other type of inspections that go along with the project
Absolutely,
itself
it's
and
very
not with
different.
the permits.
Correct.
This doesn't have anything to do
No.
with the inspections for the permits.
Okay. Any other questions from the board before we open to the public? Okay, I'm going to start on the right. Mr. Netto?
Joe Netto, Precinct 9. Thank you for this opportunity. And the meeting, this part of it started out real well until some information about the fees just got done in the administrative costs. And I don't want to start off on a controversial and negative. But we seem to have some miscommunication here, and I guess I'll get it out of the way and we'll put it on the table. After the July 13th meeting, in talking with the Board of Selectmen, I came to Town Hall to investigate some more costs. I met with Mr. Gore and Mr. Carrigan. Both gentlemen told me that the extra labor for inspections for this project was included in the $49.2 million that we voted on the Proposition 2.5 override and that I passed as a town meeting member. I talked to Select Person Flynn about this. She said, I distinctly remember meeting for over 2 hours with this, and she says, Joe, those positions are covered in the $49.2 million that we voted. So let's put that aside. I've never met a department head yet, and I was one that didn't like more revenue and more money coming in. Handed to me by a town employee was a list of revenue, and I wasn't going to bring this up, but a list of revenue that the town collects from the different departments. And just one department, the building department, generated after expenses $1.1 million worth of revenue for the town of Falmouth. I'm sure if you pass this proposal that you do tonight, and I'll get to those figures, that the town's not going to go belly up on this project. And let's put that aside, and I'd like to get recomposed, because that was really, when misinformation gets put out to the public in a forum like this, it's upsetting. I was told by 2 department heads and a select person, and now I'm hearing differently. Mr. Suso, you were here when that $49.2 million bill got passed. We passed it at town meeting. You don't remember that the labor for the inspection was part of that? Was I told wrong
Mr. Chairman, are you
information?
intending to have a debate on this tonight?
No, okay.
I think that's
I'm
what
going to have a debate.
Joe, that's what we've all
Let's
said.
get on to why we're here.
I think we've all said the exact same thing, that the costs of the inspections are part of the project. The administrative costs of doing the application and permitting fees is part of the processing the permits.
Then I would congratulate you for 1, consolidating the permit. 2, Chairperson Jones, I think that's a great idea, so that one charge is for everyone. And the reason I'm here, and I want to just make this clear, obviously I have property in this project, but something has happened along the way. Now that we are actually doing the project, and I supported this project at town meeting, and I supported this project at the polls, that the costs associated with the project have more than, for the homeowner, what we were told, and I forgot to bring the flyer that I received at town meeting, but the install per homeowner was estimated at $2,500 to $4,000. That is an unrealistic figure. Estimates are starting to come in. I have one. I have a simple installation, no major plumbing inside the house, just outside. It's more than doubled. And that's the reason why I'm here, to try to see if we can get the board, which you people seem to be willing to do tonight, and I commend you, to help lower the cost for the installation that the homeowner taxpayer has to pay the minute the project is done. We can't tell the plumber, you're going to give me a 0% loan for 30 years. The check has to be written that day. And I know this is just on the fees, and I know what we've talked about. There are other costs that I hope we could revisit, other things that would help to lower the cost that your board controls, the septic, the sand, and other things in the future. So again, and just, I'm sure that you know this, I think $50 was the figure. I've given you other figures that were based close. So you're talking about with that $50 permit fee, with the 1,442 homes, the town is still going to bring in approximately $75,000 in permit fees. So we're not going to lose money on this. And again, the bid quote came in at $2 million under what we have appropriated. The 700 grinder pumps that town meeting passed were estimated at $4,500. To my knowledge, the bid hasn't been gone out nor opened. And for every $100 that price of the pump comes in under $4,500 is another $70,000 that the town has to the good. So hopefully we're not going to get into a problem where money to the town becomes a problem. I'm here to represent money to the homeowner taxpayer to help lower their costs for those fees that you people control. Again, thank you, I appreciate it, and I applaud you for your effort on this. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Yeah.
Sue Clark, Precinct 3. I'd just like a clarification that you said that one of the permits was for digging. I believe you said
Trench
that.
permit, yes.
A digging permit. Now, when I had to do a septic system at a former home, I had to get an engineer to plan that out. Is that going to be something that is in, if you have, like the list you gave out before had about a dozen plumbers on it, how's that going to be controlled as far as, if you don't have an engineer, and I don't want to pay for one?
I believe the engineer is going to be much more when you're trying to build a Title V system to see that you have supporting grounds around it so
Right.
it doesn't collapse.
Yes.
For a trench is a much simpler job. You don't need an engineer for it.
Well, it's simpler, but it's rather arbitrary. If you're coming out from the front, are you coming out from the back? Any interference?
Yeah, I just don't
So
think...
are you not, okay, all I want to know is, am I going to have an engineer's expense included in all of this?
I do not expect so. I'm not sure if there's someone who can, Jerry, maybe you can be more definitive in that answer than I am.
Jerry Thomas, I'm still the wastewater superintendent. That, you're correct, Mr. Chairman. Septic tank systems are designed by a professional engineer. Therefore, a qualified septic tank installer just installs what's been given to him and designed by a professional engineer. We have chosen to have the plumber put a team together responsible for making the connection. There is no requirement to have a professional engineer make those determinations. The team of the plumber and the contractor should be more than adequate to determine which way to come out of the home, what are the potential electrical costs, what are the potential landscaping costs if you go one way or the other. So absolutely, there is no town requirement that I know of that will require a registered professional engineer, and that's not how the program was established.
Mr. Dufresne?
Adrian Dufresne, resident of Precinct 2. Like Mr. Netto, my concern, of course, is the impact on the elderly people that are going to be serviced by the sewer system in the Mirror Vista, Falmouth Heights area. And even though tonight's dialogue, I understand you're restricting it to the fees, which you, and I appreciate your consideration for even lowering them more. But this project is going to be going on for about 2 years. There's so many unknown questions and costs that are going to be involved, such as the guarantees for the grinder pump, the emptying of the cesspools at the plant, and the filling, the necessary fill to fill it in, which is available actually through the Board of Selectmen through negotiation with either one of our excavators or whatever. So I would hope that there would be another, some kind of a committee set up by the Board of Selectmen where people can get some kind of answers in an orderly fashion. Again, I'm going to repeat, this project is going to be going on for like 2 years, and we're already feeling the turmoil of just the mains being installed, at least in my neighborhood. But I appreciate your consideration. Joe and I have had serious discussions on this because our main concern is the impact. Somebody said something about it increases the value of the house, and you're absolutely right. I know real estate pretty well. But, you tell that to somebody who's 85 years old and on a Social Security check that goes back 25 or 30 years. They're not really concerned about what their house is going to be worth. It's what it's costing them now on this immediate financial impact. Like Joe said, he got a figure of $5,000. I won't even tell you what I got to figure out. Anyway, appreciate your consideration, again, as we go along. Tonight, we'll talk about the fees, but there has to be some further consideration on a lot of the other issues, and I'll be glad to discuss them with you at any time.
Well, I certainly think you get the feeling of the board that our idea is not to have this one be low, and when the next question comes up, we'll triple it to make up for it. That I think we're still going to be heading in the same direction.
Careful what you say. Anyway, thank you again for your considerations.
Jerry Thomas, wastewater superintendent. Any good, qualified contractor with a plumber and a team should be able to estimate those costs. The biggest issue right now is until we select the type of low pressure pump, we're putting them in an awkward position, and I've talked to them and they appreciate it. Their customers want to know how much it's going to cost today, and they don't know until we give them the specifications or we select the vendor. As far as all those other costs, I probably shouldn't say it, but I'd get another contractor. We know, they should know how much sand to fill in the septic tank. It's 200 cubic feet. It's $12 a ton for sand. It's approximately 12 tons for sand if you buy it locally. If you have to hire someone to bring that sand in, it's going to cost more. As far as availability of sand, it doesn't belong to us. It belongs to RBO. The sand they take out of the street.
Jerry,
okay,
sorry. Stay on the fees, so I'm going to ask you to, we know those issues are going to come up. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Bill Dinan, Newtown Meeting Member, Precinct 5, New Silver Beach. I just asked the board to go back in its history to check the fees that were already established for New Silver and what was charged. What are the costs to do that project? There's some history there that can be used and applied to this project and future projects. So there is history, and that should be looked at.
Thank you.
Just bring that up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Finneran?
Mark Finneran, Precinct 6. This is all very nice. I mean, this is the absolute smallest cost of this whole project, and which is much larger than need be. And you got people in this sewer area that need a life preserver, and quite frankly, you're just throwing them a donut. It's not much on the grand scheme of things, so for you not to vote for this would make absolutely no sense. Thank you.
Any other comments? Yep.
Harold Brocker, Precinct 3, Town Meeting Member. I would like to say tonight, I've been listening back and forth. We're here for the fees, and we're trying to help the people in my neighborhood and myself. It's going to be a terrific cost to us. I know you people that are up there aren't affected because Mara Vista and Falmouth Heights is. The cost of this program is going to hurt everybody in our area. One of the things that I'm very concerned about tonight is that we're trying to get the fees across to help the people. But what is beyond this? Is there another fee beyond this? Is there another one beyond that? We're not even at the beginning of this project, and we're running into a lot of problems right now. And for the people out there that I grew up with in this town of Falmouth, and I worked hard, and a lot of you people are new people here. I'm 5 generations to this town of Falmouth. My family, my grandfolks and all. And I know you don't like to hear it, but I'm going to say one thing here is that we have to help the town of Falmouth. They're going to pay our taxes. They put you in the office. Please help them, and let's give them a break on this fees. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Trent Torrance, Salem, Mara Vista Ave. Where the plumbers are basically leading this charge, have you guys set it up so they know just who they gotta bring in and stuff? Because that can help consolidate all the fees. If they kind of know what's gonna be going on, who they have to bring in to do it, instead of just, I have a feeling most of them don't know what their whole part of this is yet, but that'll help figure out the fees at the end.
We met with them and discussed this with them in great detail.
And they basically have a team set up?
Different plumbers, I mean...
Because
the
you've
ones
put the
I'd
plumbers
hire-
in charge, so they have to have the team set up.
The ones I would hire would, and that's, I would try to find someone, again, what we've recommended the most to everyone is talk to your neighbors and have a neighborhood, hire a plumber that they have a personal relationship with, and by magnitude of scale, you can get a better price if 5 of you, all who are neighbors, hire the same plumber that someone knows well and has a good relationship with. They'll have the team in place and they'll do the best job at the lowest cost.
To me, that seems like a lot of favoritism is going to start happening. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions on the hearing? Entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to close the hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? So, you sort of heard a motion before. Would you like to
I'm
state
going
the
to
motion?
formally make the motion that the consolidated fee amount with or without electrical permit be $50.
We have a motion of $50 for the consolidated permit fee. We have a second?
Second.
And a second. Further discussion? You ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? The ayes have it.
We're going to talk about it. I have it list, I have it down on my sheet.
Next item on our agenda is a liquor license hearing.
I don't know. Do you have a presentation in there, or? Oh, I don't know. Nobody talked to me about it, so I have no idea.
While people are walking out, I'll read the notice of the hearing. The notice is hereby given under Chapter 138 of the General Laws as amended,
Quiet, please, in the hallway.
that the Paint Bar LLC, doing business as the Paint Bar, has applied for a new wine and malt common victual license to be exercised at 189 Main Street, Falmouth, Mass. The hearing will be held in Falmouth, the Selectmen's Meeting Room, Falmouth Town Hall, Monday, July 27th, 2015, at 7:45. It was advertised on July 17th, and we have continued it until tonight. For the applicant.
So I just handed over tip certifications for myself. My mom's is in there, our manager, and we have another manager who's teaching right now. They have it. So now we have 4 people, all tip certified. And then we changed the name, so the manager who's documented is myself, because I'm the one who's living here.
On that point, Mr. Chair, could you state for the record the names of folks who have the certificates?
Absolutely. So I'm Jackie Schoen. My mom is Jill. She and I co-own it. Drew Pierce, and then Megan McClavick. Hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. So she's been with us the whole summer teaching, and everyone's been with us for a long time. So, and she is living here as well.
And Jackie, you expect to be here in this building?
Yes, yes, yes. I've been here all summer, and I will be here throughout the fall and as long as we're open.
Any other questions from the board? Yep.
When you say you'll be here as long as we're open, do you mean you'll be living full-time in Falmouth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just so that, because the Board of Health did point this out, just want to reiterate that with your victual license, that it is all prepared packaged food.
Yes.
And that the wine will be drunk in either paper or plastic cups, not reusable.
Yes. So we intend that it be run as our other 2 stores are on Newbury Street and in Newton, where that's how we run it there.
Explain that to me.
Explain that package.
Explain what you're just saying, that you intend to run it as your other two places.
That we serve wine at our other 2 stores.
Yes?
And everything is served in plastic cups. And then we also have packaged, there's no open food.
Packaged snacks.
Packaged snacks. Correct.
So that is an issue where there's no kitchen there. That I think about how you're doing that.
There is a sink, a separate sink from the bathroom, and whatever constitutes a kitchen, we have a refrigerator, we have a sink, we have a counter, and whatever constitutes a kitchen.
But there's no food preparation being done there?
No, there's no food preparation being done on site.
And you're pouring the wine into plastic cups.
Correct, which get disposed
So
of.
that's all disposable?
Yes.
So everything is disposable. So it really would not be discussed that it's food in a kitchen. It is you're just making the changes because you don't have a kitchen. I mean, you're serving. I would not expect to just have to go into a place and have the wine served in a plastic cup and drink from or eat from something that is all prepared in a package. I just wouldn't think about that. But once I was there, I realized that's what happened every time I would come. And if that's the way the customers are coming, then... And then I had a question, but you're saying you're going to be the manager because I was... where you have 2 already as manager, I didn't see your name on the list, so that's the reason you're going to be the manager.
Right.
Jackie's going to.
She and I mean, we run the business together, but I'm the one who's been living here, and it was, it was not advised that I'd be put as the manager here.
That's right.
Which is why she was, but I'm the one who's
right.
been here all summer and will be here.
It is advised that you're not the manager.
Yes.
You are. Okay. All right.
Well, I think that the reason that you are serving in disposable containers, both the wine as well as the food, is a Board of Health requirement because you don't have a kitchen. Yeah, so I just thought it was important to clarify that.
And, excuse me, just one more thing. On the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, that the location is on the 2nd floor, if you look at the grid, and it's on here as being on the 1st floor. It's the, in your paperwork that you had, the Commonwealth of Mass, new and renewable certificate of inspections. It's on 2nd floor. I don't know what difference that makes in anything we're doing this evening, but it is just placed as this business is on the 1st floor.
This one. If you look at that, it's listed under the 1st floor.
You may want to have that corrected for your own records.
This is, you might want to go to the building department, because I think this was initiated by the building department.
Okay.
I move approval of the alcoholic beverage license for the paint bar, excuse me.
Your motion?
Second.
Well, actually, it's a hearing, so we need to actually close the hearing first. Sorry, do you have any option? Anyone like to speak in favor of this application for a new Walton Liquor, new wine and malt common victual license? Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this application? Entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to close the hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Now, Mr. Patterson, you had made a motion to approve this application.
Yes. So moved.
Second.
And Ms. Flynn, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
I guess next it goes to the ABCC, right? Okay. Should we move back to our summary of actions, or should we move further on to our business?
Summary of
agenda?
action.
All right. So we're moving on to licenses. The first is, we have 3 licenses. One is to approve a special one-day wine and malt liquor license for Samaritans on Cape Cod and the Islands for the Upper Cape Bocce Festival at Falmouth Academy, Saturday, September 19th, 2015. The second is a one-day wine and malt liquor license, Woods Hole Historical Museum, Oyster Talk and Tasting, Friday, August 28th, 2015. And the third is a one-day wine and malt liquor license, the Fun Run 5K at the Cape Cod Fairgrounds. I actually haven't noticed where we've actually approved the actual event for the third one yet. Does anyone else remember seeing an application for this Fun Run at the fairgrounds?
Can't tell you either way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have the staff work on it.
Well, I kind of remember something about it because they're using the roads on the other side of Route 151, as I recall.
Yeah.
And we had a discussion about that, so I think we have approved it.
That rings a bell.
Okay, great. So, entertain a motion to approve those 3 licenses?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Next is under administrative orders. And first is to approve the grant rec agreement to the Mass CEC. This has been in process for a while. Ms. Harper, do you want to give us a quick rundown?
Trying to get back to the page, if you hang on one second.
We have been skipping around a bit.
Yes, the board approved this, in fact, on March 30th, at which time you received a full briefing on the project. I can provide you a little background on that. The key issue this evening is the board approved that with a request that we make an amendment to the definition of modified operation, which is on page 5 of the agreement, to allow for modified operation to include any reduction in hours resulting from a mediated settlement agreement. We met many times with the Mass Clean Energy Center, including a discussion at which the chairman participated, and they have agreed to allow the board to return and request a waiver of the restriction of a court-ordered operational change, which may or may not be granted at the Mass CEC's sole discretion. So we felt it was important to bring this back to the board, even though the board has approved this on March 30th.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Entertain a motion to approve this grant rec agreement.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. The ayes have it. The next is to authorize the town manager to facilitate the use of affordable housing funds. This is specifically dealing with a consultant for the Springboro Road project. Mr. Suso, do you want to, or is this?
Yeah, Heather can comment on that as well.
Great.
Certainly, the Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund, the Board of Selectmen are the executors of that fund. The applications are generally generated and submitted to the town manager's office and then referred to the Community Preservation Committee, who serves as the administrators. So we felt we needed to get the board's sort of blessing before we went to the CPC and asked them to consider a request for the use of those funds to help the board fulfill its request to issue an RFP.
Yeah, and just to comment on that, it was a few years ago that the Board of Selectmen determined that they wished to be the trustees of this fund, that it would facilitate the development of affordable housing in the town if we were to set up a trustee fund like that, and we did. So I think it's probably been in existence about, what, 5 years?
Oh yeah, very, very successful fund that funded the Nantantico project, which you'll see on Friday, the St. Mark's, the Oddfellows Hall. Lots of housing projects have been funded by that. One of the key issues the board should be mindful of is that in the review of those applications, the reviewers are generally very cautious about non-bricks and mortar investment. And this is a non-bricks and mortar investment, but it's a specific goal project for the town. So.
To lead to bricks and mortar.
Yes.
Correct.
Further discussion? Yeah.
I can mention that the CPC has actually put this item on their agenda for this Thursday meeting. So whatever we do right now, and we're authorizing this, they will come through with a yes or no recommendation probably as early as Thursday.
Great.
I move that we approve the use of the Falmouth Affordable Housing Fund to fund the RFP process for the Spring Bars Road project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. The ayes have it. All right, next we have some recurring events, special events. The first was from the Walkway Congregational Church. They've actually canceled that event, so we're not going to be considering that. Again, if you have anyone like to hold or have questions, yes.
Did you say they canceled this event?
Yes.
Thank you.
And again, if someone in the audience would like to hold either for announcement or to ask a question, please do so. First is the Wounded Warrior Ride at the Shining Sea Bike Path on September 24th, 2015. The next is the Auto Escape Bike Trek, County Road to Surf Drive Beach to Old Barnstable Road on September 25th, 2015. The next is the Falmouth Classic Car Dream Cruise. This is requesting closing 2/3 of the Shore Street extension on September 26th, 2015, still leaving access from Kathleen Lee Bates to the library parking lot.
I'd like to hold that one.
Okay. Next is the Buzzards Bay Watershed Ride at Shining Sea Bike Path, October 4th, 2015. And the Falmouth in the Fall Road Race, Woods Hole to Falmouth Heights, November 1st, 2015. And those are the recurring events. Any questions, comments? Entertain a motion to approve those with the exception of items A and D.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None?
You said B.
A-
Did you
A
mean
and
C?
D.
Oh, D.
D.
Okay, sorry about that.
So, Ms. Moffett, item D on the Falmouth Classic Car.
Is there anyone here from this group, the Falmouth Classic Car Club? Good.
Derek Sutton, to answer your questions.
Okay, Derek, I noticed that you had a lot of information to tell us all the things that you were going to do. I think we're up to a list of 24.
I've had to go down your list.
Well, I kind of thought that as I read each one. I thought you're following each question and you're giving an answer. This is quite a project. And it's involving, I think I was up to 125 cars, thereabouts, that are going to be on display.
We hope even more.
You hope even more. What is the issue that you would not have some type of a public toilet facility there? What was your thought about that? You just stated, no, you won't do that. The porta potties. I mean, you said, well, we can use the library and we can use the town, which is, I don't know exactly what happens with the library when you have quite a few people that are there. I just thought, I didn't understand why you wouldn't provide that.
Well, it just hasn't been necessary in the past. We've been holding this event for, well, at least at the sites we're holding it now, for probably 7 years.
Yeah.
And the facility on right next to Peg Noonan Park and just people going into the library has been adequate.
Okay. I just noticed that some of our other organizations that expect a lot of people to be there, they do that. And that's, so when I read this one, I thought, well, I wonder what's the difference here. So other organizations do provide that. So,
well, we certainly don't have as many people as like the craft fair and other events on the library lawn.
That's all I had to say. Have a fun day.
Thank you.
And Sunday you think would be a smaller event, because certainly you won't have the library available, the restrooms in the library, if it ends up being on your rain date on Sunday.
We're not worried about it, actually. As I said, it hasn't been a problem in the past, even the year of the hurricane.
Okay.
Other questions?
Strange conversation, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm going to move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, the ayes have it. Next one is a new event, and again, I assume that these have all been recommended by our working group. That's the reason they're on our agenda. Is that
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
The next one actually, I guess, was recommended. It does give me a little pause, and this is the Falmouth High School Class of 2017, asking for a bake sale fundraiser for the class on August 23rd, 2015 in Peg Noonan Park. I thought, contrary to our fee waiver, we're not paying any fees at all, whether it's a permit fee, a filing fee, or a deposit. And it is also during the summer months on the main streets. And
Pardon me, Mr. Chairman, I think I stand corrected. I was not in attendance at that for this particular event, so I'd ask Heather to
We advance all requests on to you, whether they're recommended or not. All of the recurring events were recommended and vigorously reviewed. This was very thoroughly discussed. It does not meet the board's special consideration policy for events during the months of June, July, and August. But the group did discuss it in detail and leaves it to the board to determine whether it wants to break with its policy.
So if there's a recommendation from the board, from the committee, it would be not to, or often the board makes a recommendation one way or the other.
The feeling of the group, while I don't recall that we voted on it specifically, was that it is a very small event. It's to support the high school, and if it were to be approved, that they would need to meet with the Board of Health to make sure that all food was prepared and sold in accordance with health regulations.
Is there, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there anyone from the group here? I was just wondering if they considered, for example, coordinating with the, you know, the farmers group that's already on the marina that already sells food. Do we know? No. Oh, Nancy's here. Are you with that group?
No, I'm not. I have a question. Do I have to go up there to ask my question? Yes. Is this something which is on the agenda? I don't see it in the newspaper on the agenda.
It's on the 3G.
It is.
Not in the newspaper, thank you.
Oh.
Well, if the agenda's published in the paper, this would be in the newspaper. It's listed as Falmouth High School Class of 2017 fundraiser at Peg Noonan Park, August 23rd. So it's a high school. I wish there was somebody here. I mean, I don't think it's not like, what,
This is Nancy's published agenda.
is it not? No, it's not there?
Not there.
Really?
But,
thank you.
But it was posted with the town clerk Thursday.
I think this is quite an active bake sale because they're going to have live music from the students, which is a wonderful thing to hear. I think the date is incorrect. I think if our decisions were July and August, that we weren't bringing things into the Peg Noonan, and I think that I think it needs to be another date. There's nothing wrong with this activity, but I think the August 23rd is out of compliance with what we talk about. So it's a fundraiser starting before school starts. They're going to have live music. I wish someone had come just to have a little conversation. So my suggestion is we either bring this back or we say to them, change the date.
Or move to
Well, we can't.
Gus Canning.
They would have to change the date to bring it back.
Our next meeting is after
the
the
24th.
Oh, the next meeting is the 24th. Well, then that's true. On the 23rd, they would have had.
I guess also without paying any fees, I'd like to know what the purpose of it is for the class of 2017. Any other nonprofit or group that we find out what their mission statement is and what they're going to use the money for. I guess I would encourage them to reapply with a different date and a little more information.
Or use Gus Canning. I mean, our policy was that there would be no events on Peg Noonan Park in July and August. And I know it is our own school and our own high school, and the people who live here attend there, and this is what they're attempting to do, but once you start making an exception, then where do you draw the line?
I would certainly be open to approving this at Gus Canty.
I would be okay approving it at Gus Canty if that's okay with them. We don't know that, but we could approve it and then let them decide if that's where they want to go. And if they don't, then they could come and maybe have it in September. Yeah,
But
like
we
the
would need
weekend
to,
after Labor Day or Labor Day
We need
weekend.
to know
something
the
like that.
special events calendar. There's something else at Gus Canty on the 23rd.
Oh,
of
there
August.
is? Oh,
I don't know
definitely.
that. I'm saying that would,
That's true.
we would have to see if there's something that's been assigned there.
Is that a Saturday?
Sunday.
Sunday, yeah. If the board would want to so vote, approve it for the community center for that date, and alternatively, if that is not available, the group could move it into September if they care to reapply.
So
That's
we
a good
could,
solution.
I just want to confirm that every applicant is given a copy of the policy and they're made aware of the limitations placed on the board of the use of the property, and if they still apply, we still review them.
Okay. Well, I'm disappointed there isn't someone here to speak to us.
I'd like to make the motion to approve based upon the town manager's specific suggestion that it be Gus Canty if that's available, and if not, then they reapply for another date.
I would second that, if that's a motion.
It is.
I'll second.
I just want to commend these people for planning so far ahead. This is, I guess, the junior class, and they're already planning, and most of the time when they raise funds like this, they give it back as a gift to the school, so it would be nice to hear that confirmed. But I do want to praise them for their forward thinking and planning, because you don't always see that from people of this age. So I'm going to give them that much of a plus.
So, a motion and a second to approve at Gus Canty contingent upon it being available, and with suggestion if they'd like to have it someplace, have it downtown, and come back with a different date.
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? The ayes have it. Next, we have a quarterly report from the police department. Chief Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good board members.
Doesn't have a water bottle in
This
there.
is the third quarter report for the police department. Staffing levels. Again, I'm pleased to announce that we are fully funded positions. We are fully staffed with 58. When I say that, 45 are currently available to work, and that includes myself. 2 officers are out line of duty. 2 officers are on military leave. I have 1 officer out on family medical leave, and I have 1 officer currently on light duty. And that brings us up to the 58. As of Monday, last Monday, Detective Robert Murray is officially retired from police work. And we'd like to thank Detective Murray for 33 years of dedicated service to the department and to the town of Falmouth. As many of you know, he was our narcotics officer, and he did an outstanding job, and he'll be missed, and he has been missed, so he is officially retired. That doesn't change our staffing level, because we knew he was going to retire, and we were able to fill that position. And that person is in the academy, has yet to graduate, so we still are at the 58.
What's his date of retirement?
Last Monday, he was officially retired.
Was there, did we miss a chance to be able to honor him the way we would like to?
He came into town, emptied his desk, and left town. It's the way he wanted it. So
I still wish there was a way we could extend our appreciation and thanks for many years of his service.
We will be having a plaque made for him and some information that if we can get him back to Falmouth, he's currently residing in Florida. If we can get him back to Falmouth, I don't know with winter coming, but I'll try. Next time he's here, we'll know when he's coming.
Great, thank you very much.
Our 4 student officers in the Plymouth Police Academy are in their 21st week. They're going to be graduating next Friday. I'll be attending that graduation. And that is Megan Andrade, Timothy Bryant, Ryan Hurt, and Stephen Sr. They would have completed the 22 weeks of that academy, and they will be starting their 3-month field training program here in the police department. Our other 3 student officers are in the Randolph Academy, which started in May, and they are in their 15th week. The Randolph Academy is a 26-week academy compared to the 22-week in Plymouth. Something the state did, I don't know why. But it works out good for us for our field training, because our field training officers won't be overwhelmed. We're trying to field train 7 officers. So, but they will be graduating, I believe, the day before Halloween. And then once they're out, they'll go into their 3-month FTO training. I'm happy to say in September, Officer Jamie Livingston, she will become the town's new school resource officer. We're rotating Andrew Lowen, who was our school resource officer for many years. He's been rotated out of that, and he has now been reassigned to the detective division. And while Andrew was our SRO, he did an outstanding job, which was evident with both schools, the high school and the Lawrence School. Dispatch positions. We're still trying very hard to fill our 16-hour dispatch position. We've had several interviews with Denise Coleman. We're going to continue. We haven't really found a fit for that yet. That's a Saturday and Sunday. That's every Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 4. But I am happy to say that we did hire a Sabrina Greenfield as a full-time dispatcher. That was our other position, the midnight one. And she started training today. Today was her first day on the job. And Sabrina will work midnight shift, Thursday through Mondays, with Tuesdays and Wednesdays off. Our summer employment, and the summer's gone by fast. We did hire 3 new seasonal officers this year. Officer Stephen Gallerini, Officer Brandon Moore, and Officer Matthew Schreck. And the 2 seasonal officers that were to return is Officer Richard Bradley and Brian Warner. I'll talk about Richard in a minute. Officer Gallerini and Officer Warner have been assigned to the Old Silver Beach. We have 2 officers up there during the week because, as you're aware, the parking situation and the traffic is horrendous. And then on the weekends, I assign a bicycle officer up there. So we have 3 officers assigned up there to assist in getting people safely to and from the beach. Officer Moore has been assigned to walk the Main Street, and Officer Schreck had been assigned to walk in Woods Hole. Officer Bradley, I want to speak about Officer Bradley. Officer Bradley has been a seasonal officer in the town of Falmouth, probably going on 20 years. And he was in a serious motor vehicle accident with one of our cruisers, which was head-on Route 28 in East Falmouth Lumber on June 27, 2015. He sustained some serious injuries. He had head injuries, elbow injuries. He had several surgeries on his elbow, and he fractured a leg. I spoke with Richard today. He's in good spirits. It's not how he wanted to spend his summer, but he is on the road to recovery. So we wish him the best. Our detective division, as far as narcotic buys, we've had 23 undercover buys. We've had buy, bust, arrest of 9 arrest warrants. We've done 4 search warrants. For seizures, we've seized $21,366 in drug seizure funds. Charges: distribution of a Class A, B, D, cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, marijuana. Possession of a Class A, B, D, cocaine, heroin, fentanyl. And narcotics that we've purchased from dealers, marijuana, cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, and crack cocaine. Some of the drugs that are out there. Overdoses. In this quarter, there's been 29 overdoses. So far, we've had, in 2015, we've had 85 overdoses. Overdose resulting in deaths in this quarter, 2. Since the first of the year, 7. Overdoses where police officers using Narcan in this quarter, 2. Since the first of the year, 5. As I stated before, most of the time people will call the fire department, so their use of Narcan is far higher than ours. One thing I do want to bring to the board's attention and the public's attention, we are now using an injectable Narcan compared to the nasal Narcan. So when we use this now, they're getting 100% of the Narcan, where if you use the nasal, some of it would, of course, drip out of their noses and things like that. And this works like an EpiPen. When you take it apart, it talks to you, tells you what to do, and you'll walk it through it. All our officers have been trained in it, including our summer officers. They carry it with them. And we were able to get this through the Sheriff's Department and through Gosnell. On a proactive piece to deal with the heroin overdoses, other than just arresting dealers, we have partnered with the Gosnell Treatment Facility. Sergeant Michael Semino, along with the Gosnell Recovery Coach, go out to homes of victims and inform them of treatments, and we're working with the families and the addicts themselves. So out of these 85 people, we do these home visits as the weeks go on. And I'm happy to say we've done 35 home visits from March to August. And out of those 35, 5 victims have entered treatment. I considered the program a success the first time they went out and 1 person went into treatment. So if we can help 1 person, it's great. But we've been able to help 5. And that's going to be ongoing as the year goes on. To expand on that, we deal also with a lot of mental health issues. And the department is now going to be partnering with Human Services on a similar program where we have a police officer who will review the logs on the mental health issues that we've dealt with, and we'll go out with a coach to help those people, to let them know what services are available for them out there, and it will help with the call volume and help them hopefully. Calls for service from May 7th to August 5th. Self-initiating calls this year, 2,817, compared to last year, 3,641. It's not that our officers aren't doing anything. They're very, very busy this year. Dispatch calls received this year, 4,866, compared to 5,026 last year. Total calls for this year, 7,600. For this quarter, 7,683. Domestic violence. We've responded to 175 domestic violence calls. We've had 132 restraining order violations issued. Our civilian domestic violence specialist has served 89 victims from the first of the year to now. And during the month of March and April, the advocate participated in a 60-hour employee training at Independence House too, because we're still working with Independence House as a partnership. I think since the last time I came here, our new phone system is up. It's like anything else that's new, it has a few minor flaws in it, but we're working on that. I do want to remind the public again, the new phone number and how it works. The new phone number is 774-255-4527. And there's a new auto attendant. They really need to listen to the auto attendant and not just press a button from the last time. Because sometimes you'll come in on a Monday morning and it's a call that probably should have been handled over the weekend, and they just pressed buttons and it went to somebody's office. So we're just asking the public to be patient, listen to the auto attendant, and press the appropriate one. And then, of course, if it's an emergency, dial 911. The Falmouth Police Department's portable surveillance trailer arrived. That was purchased by the Falmouth Road Race, Inc. We've used it at the 4th of July fireworks. We've used it at the Barnstable County Fair. We will be using it this Sunday at the New Balance Falmouth Road Race. We had it at our open house and National Night Out. It's quite a piece of equipment. I can monitor it from my iPhone, from my computer. The station can monitor it. We had an incident out at the fair and it was completely captured on video. So it's some good evidence that we have to take to court with us. So, unbelievable piece of equipment. And again, I give my thanks to the Falmouth Road Race, Inc. for their contribution to help this community. I mean, that really is a true partnership. Our webpage. Anybody's gone to look at our webpage, you'll see that it was under construction, due to come up in, I think, May. But like anything else, there were a few bugs. We met with the designer, Christine LeMay, Morningstar. We are expecting it to go live Wednesday, August 12th. In fact, she'll be training myself and some administrative people on August 14th on how to maintain the page. So the new web page will be up. It is extremely user-friendly compared to what we had. The old webpage, the software doesn't exist. I can't even remove offices that are on that webpage. That's why we took it down and said it was under construction. So hopefully, if all goes well, it should be up this week. And the website will include, again, links to social media, Facebook and Twitter, and that has been, I believe, a success also. Anytime there's a road closure or a press release, we put it out on Facebook, and it's all going to link, they're all going to intertwine with each other, so we're really excited about that. Some of the events that we dealt with, the Police Memorial Day on May 13, 2015, very successful. The powwow out at the fairgrounds on 4th of July, again, very successful. 4th of July, no problems. Our traffic plan is getting better each year. I heard a lot of positive feedback. Main Street was clear within almost an hour. The annual street fair, again, no problems. Bountiful County Fair, we had some minor issues out there, but it was nothing that on the fair's problem. It was just some of the patrons that were there. And the police department's National Night Out open house, extremely successful. It's the first year it's been held when there was no ball game, so we really got a number of the people that were there. We gave over 200 tours of the police department, as well as everybody got a chance to again view. Some of you were there, got to view. We fed you hot dogs, hamburgers, pizzas, ice cream.
He looks dry now.
Yeah.
And if I could, I'd like Pat to come up for a minute.
I'd be
Please,
afraid.
if that's appropriate, please. Yes, this year we added something new. For those of you who didn't attend, it is on our Facebook page, so you can view it. We had a dunk tank, and yes, I went in, and she dunked me. And because of that, now normally if somebody dunked me, I probably would have arrested them. But no. No. I have some souvenirs for you. She's got quite an arm on her, too. We have a picture of you in action.
Isn't that fantastic?
That's great.
That is great.
I love that.
Have a National Night Out t-shirt, dunking the chief. And I usually get an autographed ball from you, but I got a baseball that says Dunk the Chief 2015, and I signed it for you.
Oh,
so there you go.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome. Now, we added that this year, and the kids absolutely had a ball with it. They really did. I mean, from the time, I think that was the biggest hit of the whole event. And it was refreshing, so it's kind of a warm day.
Oh, that's great.
Great picture.
But it was a successful event, so I guess we're going to have to keep bringing the dunk tank back. Whether I go in it again or not, I don't know. But it was fun. It was for a good cause, because anybody that did give donations, the money went to the Falmouth Prevention Partnership. So it was fun. And that's my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for the chief?
Not saying anything.
That was spectacular.
Thank you very much, Chief.
That was great. It was
Thanks,
a
Chief.
wonderful night, I must say. There were so many people there. And as you said, usually the Commodores are playing, and a lot of people who would go to the Commodores game would come earlier and then eat all the food. So all the people who were there were actually all participating.
All residents
and
or
it was really
visitors,
a
it was
fun night.
a fun night.
So if you didn't go this year, put it on your calendar for next year, and you might get to dunk the chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is a presentation from the Steamship Authority. Mr. Lamson, Mr. Sayers, Ms. Gladfelder. Sorry, Dr. Gladfelder.
Good evening, Betsy Gladfelder, the Falmouth representative to the Steamship Authority, and unless you have any questions, I'm going to introduce Wayne Lamson, who's general manager.
Thank you, Betsy, Mr. Chairman, fellow selectmen. My name is Wayne Lamson again, general manager of the Steamship Authority, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to make a brief presentation on the conceptual plans for the Woods Hole Terminal and the relocation of the authority's administrative offices.
Do you want some
And,
lights out?
With me tonight is Steve Sayers, our general counsel, who has given several of these presentations in, I think it's 3 public outreach meetings that we've held in the community. And also Bill Cludier, who will serve as the project manager for this project. So I'd like to turn it over to Steve.
Thank you, Wayne. Let's see if this, I should have pointed that way, right? Or do I want to click?
Should be able to, should.
Which way?
Thank you. All right, this is, for those of you who don't know it, I tend to believe that's very few of you. This is the village of Woods Hole, where the Steamship Authority has been operating since the 1800s, or its predecessors. Our terminal is that lovely spot there. And as you can see, people come down Woods Hole Road, they go into the terminal by way of Country Road, and then they go out by Railroad Avenue. It hasn't always looked this nice. Let me see which.
The next one's coming.
I tried that one. No, I don't have a PowerPoint. It's PDF. You know, page down. It's going to be page down. Nope. We have a.
There's a little arrow in the bottom left. If you put a cursor there, will that do anything?
Probably not.
That makes it blue.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. It was a good thought.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know what I did.
Is that where you want?
Got rid of that.
Right.
Page down?
Didn't work.
Oh, it doesn't work. No.
Okay.
That's much better.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'll stay here. Let's see if we can. All right, I'm going to get, okay. So it didn't always look as well as it looks today. It was a railroad terminal for many years, as you know, up until the early 1960s. That's the water tower. You can still see the turntable remnants in the today's parking lot that's showing on the left. The boats always came up to the end of the pier. They always turned around at the end of the pier. The trains, you can see the trains went all the way down to the pier, end of the pier. People got on there. And not everyone arrived by trains. From the beginning, it appears, parking for the Steamship Authority was always a problem for the village of Woods Hole. We have tried to improve the terminal site over the years. We constructed a beautiful building in the 1950s. And as you can see, that is our present day building where our offices are. We have put out some windows on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. We have lowered it, but that's the second floor of that building is now our offices. And more recently, I mean, although that's the last major improvement at the terminal site, more recently we have added this lovely structure here in order to make at least one of the entry points onto our vessels from one slip accessible for people with disabilities. That is the only point of entry on any of our vessels that's accessible for people with disabilities. And they have to go up that maze and down the other side in order to get on and off. We know that we can do better than that, and we actually have to do better than that. The existing bulkheads, the terminal pier, all of those are at the end of their useful life. They've been there for 40 years, longer. They've been in seawater all that time. They're deteriorating. They have a lot of corrosion. There are voids behind the bulkheads. We're able to fix them as we go along with this, not a long-term solution. The terminal building itself is also at the end of its useful life. It is an unreinforced concrete block building. It does not meet current building code requirements for many issues, including seismic loads, wind loads, electricity, plumbing, energy efficiency, and it sits on a floodplain that is about 13 feet above sea level, and it's sometimes in a velocity floodplain that's 15 feet above sea level, and it's only 6 to 7 feet above sea level. So we can't do anything with that building unless we were to raise it by about 9 feet. And that's impractical, and then we would have to have jetways over to the slips, to the terminals, and that would be a very expensive, very impractical, and very unpopular building. So we went to the State Designer Selection Board to get a feasibility study done because we didn't know what to do with it. They appointed Berto and Iwerks as the architects and Moffett and Nichol as the marine engineers. Berto and Iwerks asked us, with terms of the land-based side, what do we want to do? What do we want to accomplish? Do we want to plan for growth? We looked at our traffic levels since 1999, and for the most part, they have not increased substantially. In fact, during the summer, they've remained relatively flat. The blue lines here are the passenger traffic during the summer months of July and August. The real growth in our passenger traffic has been in the off-season when traffic issues are not as much of a problem in Woods Hole. So we didn't see a need to try to build a terminal for greater growth from a passenger standpoint or from a vehicle standpoint. Again, since 1999, our vehicle traffic has remained relatively constant over the summer, and the growth has been pretty much in the off-season. When we looked at this, nevertheless, we decided that one thing that we had to consider was to have our administrative offices be taken off-site. We previously had the reservation office in Woods Hole. We've moved that elsewhere to Falmouth and then to Mashpee. We also had our maintenance facilities. We did all of our repair work on our vessels in Woods Hole. And in the 1990s, we moved that off-site, first to Fall River and now to Fairhaven. And we thought we should consider also moving our administrative offices off-site so that we are really exclusively a ferry terminal operation at that site. So we asked Berto and Iwerks to look at what we needed to do to fulfill our program requirements without the administrative offices. And this is what they came up with. That would be the terminal building. This is our current staging area. These are the 20-metered public spaces there. These are accessible parking spaces and other areas for truck staging, employee parking for the terminals, and other buses, shuttle buses, limousines, taxis, all of that. And it's terrific, except you can't move when you're on the site if you satisfy all those program elements. So that was convincing us that we really had to move the administrative offices off-site. And then we talked to the marine engineers. And the marine engineers said that they didn't know how they were going to reconstruct all the slips during this project, because we always have to have at least 2 slips operating to provide service to the island. And this third slip here, slip number 3, is inadequate to provide that type of backup system on an ongoing basis. So if they were going to be reconstructing slips 1 or slips 2 down here, and the other slip became inoperable because a boat was tied up in it with mechanical issues, we would have to stop all service to the island. So they asked us if we really wanted to move our offices, if they could take use of that pier, tear down the building, the current building, it's no great loss to the surrounding community, and then reposition slip number 3 down farther away from the Noshawn Trust dock, which is that one there. And that would increase the navigation safety for the third slip and move everything out, farther out that way, so it's still so outside the turning basin in Woods Hole Harbor. They thought they could develop a plan so that we could reconstruct each of the 3 slips, 1 slip per off-season, and actually get it done. And they drew us the outline of what it would look like. This is where the current slip 3 is. The 3 new slips would be down here. And actually, it is somewhat farther away from the Atlantis if you envision it being docked over at the Hui, at the Dyer's dock there. So it increases navigation safety, and it also moves everything a little bit away from the village. It gives us some additional space. Our preferred slips are down here for normal sea conditions, tide conditions, current conditions, but we always have the option of going in there when the weather conditions dictate that as the safer approach. So they showed us how they were going to do it. This would be the current terminal with the terminal building there. We would construct a temporary terminal building at that location, and once we do, this is very tricky. We would demolish the current structures, and we would excavate the outside portion of that pier. That brings us more land under the ocean than currently exists. Once we excavate it, we can build the new slip 3 there, And so we can use that slip while we're rebuilding each of the other 2 slips over each of the off-seasons. We don't want to do any work in the summer, if at all possible, because we don't want to disrupt the community down there in Woods Hole. After slip 3 is rebuilt, we would create a new slip 1, and after slip 1 is rebuilt, we would create a new slip 2, or vice versa. It's still to be determined, because this is only a concept. And ultimately, we would have a terminal with 3 new slips in a far more safer position than they currently are. And they're still outside of the turning basin in the Great Harbor. But after they showed us this solution to our slip problem, we had to figure out what we were going to do with the rest of the area. Berto and Iwerks, according to the standard state contract, gave us with 3 concept alternatives. That's just another drawing. I should have deleted that since I'm trying to. They gave us concept A, which was a single level concept. They put the terminal building there, and people would still come down as they do today. The shuttle buses would park there and then go back up Railroad Avenue, and we would stage the vehicles on the southern side of the property. Personally, I mean, when the staff looked this over, we saw a lot of safety issues here. You had a lot of conflicts. You'd have people getting off the shuttle buses, going to the terminal building, and going backwards through the shuttle buses. You had all these vehicle and pedestrian conflicts. It didn't look to be the safest approach for us. And it also did not give us all of the staging that we have today and the truck staging and other issues. And then they showed a model of this concept A, and it showed another problem that they envisioned that the primary slip would be slip 3, which is exactly the opposite of what we wanted. We want the operating slips that we use to be slips 1 and 2 away from the village, and we only want to use slip 3 when the weather conditions really require it, or in the first trip out of the day when we have 3 boats in each of the berths. So they had a second concept B that took advantage of the slope of the hill, where the shuttle buses would come in halfway down. They'd drop off their passengers in the back, and then they'd go back up Railroad Avenue. The passengers would go to the terminal. They would go across pedestrian walkways above the vehicle traffic, which made it much more safe for our passengers, for the 2 slips here, and that we would stage the vehicles that are being transported on the ferry at the front. This would be the lower side of that concept B. That's down at around 6 to 7 feet above sea level. This tends to move. They also produced a model of that. In order to make this work, the terminal building, because it was up the slope of the hill, would have to be raised even higher than the flood zone. It would have to be at, I think, 17 feet above the water instead of 13 feet above the water. But that also allowed the pedestrians to go safely across to the piers without conflicts with the without conflicts with the vehicles below. So that seemed pretty good to us. It also gave us some more space because of the different levels. Then they came up with their third and final approach, concept C, which gave us everything we wanted and everything the community wanted. They built a deck. This concept is to build a deck over the existing parking area, staging area, and you would have the vehicles come in directly from Crane Street Bridge over. They would park the buses would here, the passengers would get off, they'd go directly above the lower traffic over to the piers. They'd be completely safe, they'd be moving in one direction. Below this deck, you would have ample staging for all of your cars. You would have enough public spaces over here, you'd have accessible spaces. Everything that everyone said that they wanted at the Woods Hole Terminal, we would have. It was our dream program, and it was the community's nightmare. When we took this to the community in November of 2013, they arrived with pitchforks and torches, and they were right, and they told us, don't do any of this, we're in the completely the wrong direction. And luckily, cooler heads prevailed. The co-presidents of the Woods Hole Community Association and the president and vice president of the Woods Hole Business Association approached us and asked to work with us over the next 6 to 8 months to come up with a better solution. They presented us with what they felt were their biggest objections. Whoops, okay, that's the drawing, to the concepts that we'd arrived at, particularly concept C. The terminal building blocks the view of the ocean. At the moment, it's down below. By putting it 25 feet above or 17 feet above the water, it blocks much more of the view than if it's at 13 feet of the water, which is what it has to be to meet the flood zone. Each of the concept alternatives permanently alters the entrance to the village. By raising the elevation of the terminal, you change everything because now you look down over the terminal. Number 3, the size and proposed scope of the building were too big. So we had to go back and look and say, what else can we move out of there? We moved out lost and found. We reduced the size of the rooms. None of the concept alternatives provides a sufficient connection for SSA customers to visit the village. That's a big element of this whole terminal. And we should evaluate what aspects of our operations need to be located there, which we were doing. We had to pay more attention to the character of the structures at the terminal, pay more attention to the terminus of the bike path, and get rid of those elevated pedestrian walkways, which we found to be pretty much essential for safety and security concerns, and they didn't like those at all. So over the course of the next 8 months, we worked with them. We went back to Concept A, we developed Concept A2, Concept A3, Concept B1, Concept B2, Concept B3, Concept D1, which put it all the way down there, which didn't seem to do anything for the community because they'd have to walk all the way across all those staging cars. Then we went back to Concept B3.1, Concept B4.1, where we were changing the building size and location to maximize the view. That proved out to be unworkable because of the turning radiuses for the vehicles. And then our board was concerned about the terminal building being too far away from the ocean, having difficulty for people with disabilities to get to the boats. So we started a new letter, Concept E, putting the terminal building closer, and we worked with all of these locations. And ultimately, we put the terminal building everywhere possible on the terminal that we could think of. And we arrived at what I think everyone finally agreed was the best that we can do. And we still feel that way 6 to 10 months later, that if we put the terminal building closer up, keep it at just what it's required to be at 13 feet above sea level, don't make it any higher, have it 2 floors so you can reduce the footprint of the building because it's going to have a pitched roof, and so it's going to block a little bit of the view, but it's far enough away from the intersection here that it won't block that much. The passengers can go across the pavement here. When a boat docks here, they can discharge the vehicles up that way. The passengers can go over there. So you can have separation of the passengers from the vehicles. If the boat docks here, the cars can exit that way. And again, you can have the separation between the passengers and the vehicles. Seems to make sense. It's closer to the water. The staging is in the back. Most of those people know where they're going. They're island residents. They know that they're going to have to go around one side of the building or the other in order to get on the boat. We had given them priority initially, but now we're giving the passengers priority over the vehicles. The buses are going to be picking up and dropping off their passengers there. It's going to be safe with walkways, unlike now it's simply on the pavement. And the vehicles are really going to enter and exit the terminal property just as they do today. So it's not going to be, we aren't going to ask to lose any metered spaces on Railroad Avenue or anything like that. It ends up that even without the administrative offices there, we don't gain any staging space. I think at the moment we have 156 spaces, and this plan gives us 154. We don't have, we have I think 3 more truck staging spaces because we tried to, for years the trucks have been going here and they've been backing up. And someone at the November meeting said they back up and the beeping, it's horrendous, and hopefully we've been able to change that. We'll find out, where they come in and and they only have to back up when they actually get on the boat. But we wanted to make sure that the staging for the trucks are parallel so that they don't have to back up to give us spaces. So these little details about the plan went through. We needed enough turning radius here. And the one thing is that currently the bike path terminates about here. And we have found that has been a problem because then they go against the one-way traffic down to Luscombe Ave, and they cross all the cars coming up Luscombe Ave and Railroad Ave, as well as our people. By extending the bike path all the way down to the intersection, down to this where Slip 3's transfer bridge currently is, we make it a far safer roadway for them. Now, the only people who are coming to cross pretty much are going to be our bus drivers, who are very good at this. And we get to use that park expanded at the bottom of the transfer bridge and put in bike racks for about 100 bicycles. And if you've ever been in Woods Hole in the summer, you see bicycles just leaning up against all of that area on the side. So we thought that was a big improvement for the bike path. Also, the terminal is here, so that's close enough. We do operate as the restroom for the village of Woods Hole. That's something that we have accepted and acknowledged over the years, and we want to make certain that we're able to do that. So it's a very simple design. It seems to be the best that we can do. The problem is we're losing a lot of parking. We're losing 51 parking spaces from that as a result, and the town also would be losing the 20 metered spaces it has there, and that's something that we hope to be able to work out with the town, and we're still working on that. But one thing I have left out is where the administrative office is going, if they're no longer there. Terminal site was here. We own some property in Falmouth. We have a Palmer Avenue parking lot. We had a parking lot on Gifford Street, and we rented another one, which we are no longer using now that our new lot at the Thomas B. Landers Road property has opened. That opened in late June. And we also have had the Cotomet lot way out in Bourne, which we have an option to buy that we could have used. We looked at all these options. We also put advertisements in the newspapers and wrote to the brokers all last summer asking them for alternatives. And we came down after all these considerations and concluded that the Palmer Avenue site is the best site for our administrative offices. It is close to the terminal. It's close to public transportation. It is, we have shuttle bus service going between the terminal site and the Palmer Avenue parking lot all the time, all year round. And we will lose maybe around 100 parking spaces from the terminal, from the administrative offices there, but we will be able to reuse the employee parking spaces there during the weekend for patrons. So we're going to be losing some more spaces there. But that's something that we think is worth it. At the moment, our parking lot manager created this. I couldn't do this. It's a Google Earth thing where he counted the actual parking spaces around. At the moment, our Palmer Avenue parking lot has 1,753 spaces, give or take a few. When we started our whole Palmer Avenue parking lot improvements, I think you may remember we had 1,450 spaces about, so we increased it by 300 to 325 spaces. We had said we were going to increase it by 500 spaces. We were going to put 250 spaces up at the old skating rink, and we were going to put 250 spaces down here. Didn't work out that way. We didn't get as many spaces as we wanted. But we're living with it. They're also now, I think, 8.5 feet wide instead of 8 feet wide for our customer convenience. So we had to look at the Palmer Avenue parking lot and try to decide where on that lot are we going to be putting the new administrative offices building. When we redid the lot, we used a lot of stormwater retention basins. We have to avoid all of these locations. They can't be built upon. We've already spent a lot of money improving the stormwater management. And here are the entrances to the lot, skating lane here, the old entrance here, and this goes to Depot Avenue, the bus station. So we looked at all those locations. We looked up where the skating rink used to be. That had a lot of conflicts with the entrance and exit for our current customers coming through. It didn't seem to work well for a number of traffic conflict issues. Same issue with here, only you just changed it from one side of skating lane to the other, so that didn't look very good. And both of those situations, also, the building would have looked very large from Palmer Avenue. We didn't like that aspect. We looked at it here. That seemed to be well. That is where the barn currently is, which is no longer being used. We're either in the process of vacating that or already have vacated that. We didn't like the parking over on the other side of the lane, however. And so we also considered back over there. But again, that seemed to be far away from the entrance. And we also looked all the way back over near the bus station, but again, that's very close to one of those retention basins, and this road here is very narrow. We just constructed a bike path connector there. It would just be would decrease safety at that location. So ultimately, after looking at all these locations, plus the one I can't show you because it's off the drawing, we concluded that the best location would incorporate where the barn is now and behind it. By positioning the building away from Palmer Avenue, we would reduce its perceived size. It would be 2.5 stories, and the half story would mean that the top floor would be 50% of the second floor, so it fits within the zoning guidelines within the town. The barn, just like our terminal and just like everything else it seems we've owned for all these years, doesn't meet any current code requirements. Our architects, however, like the barn. They want to replicate the barn as best as they can. And in order to have the barn and then have the building extend behind it, they've given us a very plain rendering of it. That's not the final architectural detail. But the idea is that down below is what it looks like today, and they want it to be as reminiscent of what's there today as possible. So that's where we stand now with the terminal project. Our architects always come up with something new, and they're very sensitive about these things, and they asked us whether we wanted to consider a net zero energy terminal building. And we have not yet taken this to the community. It's been presented to us, but so you're getting tomorrow's headlines today. The net zero terminal, energy terminal, would mean all terminal energy requirements are handled on site, and the terminal would be designed to reduce demand as much as possible, and essentially it would be solar panels. That has an aesthetic effect that the community, we expect, will have strong opinions about. But given the nature of the community, they may feel just as strongly that we should be doing it as opposed to that they don't want it at all. So we haven't had that conversation yet. We're going to have that conversation. We hope it's not perceived as a bait and switch because it just came to us. But you know what they look like. You've been to the Falmouth Ice Arena. These are the things that would go up over the cars. Again, because when you come down to Woods Hole, you're looking over the terminal, you aren't going to see them from that intersection. And if you do look down over the Crane Street Bridge, the question is, would you prefer to see a lot of cars parked there, or would you prefer to see solar panels there? And that's what we're going to engage next in, along with everything else with the community. This is a rendering of what the terminal would be with those solar panels there. There are trade-offs. We have to improve as much as possible our storm water management of that terminal. We have to do as much as we can that's practical. Without those solar panels, we have a lot more ability to have infiltration. With those solar panels, because of the foundation requirements, the concretes that needed to put in the poles for the foundation, that removes a lot of the infiltration, and it gives us barely enough capacity to treat the water as opposed to actually infiltrate it into the ground. So that's my Reader's Digest version of 3 years of planning.
Questions from the board?
Not really a question, but I've attended many of these meetings where the plan was tweaked, and I just kind of want to give credit to the former Falmouth Steamship Authority representative. Kathy Norton was very vocal, as Steve mentioned, in getting the terminal as close to the boats as possible, both for just general accessibility issues and really issues for the public, baby carriages, older folks, anybody who, has been, doesn't want to or isn't able to stand in the sun for that long. Just and that was a very cooperative effort, so I just wanted to give her credit for that.
Rebecca?
I just had one question from one of the earliest of the graphs that you had that showed the summertime, the amount of traffic, and it was blue on the bottom and orange, and then you were showing that. I would like for you to explain that. It didn't seem, it started in 1999, I think.
The 10% increase, you mean?
Yes, but it was a surprise to me that the summer was not as much as the winter time. And or just explain that to me, that right here.
Okay. Well, these are from our traffic statistics that we get from our accounting department. What we did is that the combined bars represent all the vehicles that we carry per year. And the first part of that are these are the number of vehicles we carry during the months of July and August of each year. So if you look at how high the blue columns go, they all seem to be
a 10% increase.
It's a little bit, yeah, it's a little bit of an increase, but it's not that much of an increase.
Well, 10% over 15 years.
I don't know. At some point they came down. So
right, but over 15 years it goes from 100,000 to
10%.
110,000.
Yeah, 1% per year, or less than 1% per year. And above the off-season, they've increased a little bit more. And this went whether we should design the terminal for future growth or not, and we decided not to. The terminal, as it is now designed, has the same amount of staging area, or a little bit less, 71 fewer parking spaces, and we have decided that we have to do other things in order to manage the traffic there. We have done a number of things over the years. Parts of it is that we have reduced our own operations there. As I said, the reservations office, the maintenance on those boats. Now the administrative offices are going down, which should reduce traffic on Woods Hole Road by the number of employees who no longer have to commute. We have done a number of other things to manage traffic over the years. We have 1995, the infamous Independence Day weekend of 1995, when we had guaranteed standby. And if you arrived by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we guaranteed you to get over to the vineyard by the end of the day, no matter how long the operating day was. We replaced that in 1996 with, on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, during the summer weekends, you have to have a reservation in order to go across. We make very limited exceptions for island residents, but we understand that's about 15 cars a day around that use that exception. So all these cars come down, they have reservations, they are managed because they arrive more evenly throughout the day than all coming down at Woods Hole early to be first in line or somewhere along that line. So if we manage those vehicles that way, it has helped, we believe, the traffic on Woods Hole Road. We also have limited the parking in the Woods Hole lot, the back lot that we rent from the town, and the front lot today, generally to parking permit holders and people with disabilities with placards that can use it. Every now and then we allow people who might miss the last bit of the day to park in Woods Hole. But by limiting the Woods Hole parking lot to permit holders, we make certain, and we now have a sign, if you've seen on Palmer Ave, we have no parking in Woods Hole sign. That's been up there, I think, since 2012. And we've stopped a lot of people, a lot of customers from driving all the way down to Woods Hole, expecting to get parking, waterfront parking, and then driving all the way back up Woods Hole. And that's decreased a little of that. We've also put that on our website, our app. We have a radio 1610 where we tell people which parking lots are open and there is no parking in Woods Hole. And we also have it, I think, on a telephone line that it's changed every time we open and close the parking lot. We've also done a few other things over the years. We have licensing powers over private ferry operators. And over the last several years, we have licensed increased service by Highline, both conventional boats from Hyannis, a conventional boat from Hyannis to Vineyard, as well as high-speed boat from Hyannis to the Vineyard. We have licensed the Pied Piper, as you know, in order to carry, I don't know whether moving things to Falmouth Inner Harbor does the town any good, but it does Woods Hole Road some good. And so Pied Piper also takes off some of our pressure by providing ferry service to the Vineyard. And we've also licensed a high-speed boat from New Bedford in order to provide passenger ferry service from New Bedford to the Vineyard. And all combined, they take up, they have reduced our passenger traffic by about 13% during the heights of the summer. And we would like to encourage that, even though it's against our financial interest to have these private carriers go, our licensing policy says that we should consider the local impacts, and that includes moving the local impacts to other communities that can more easily share it. We have tried, in addition, in the early, I think 2000 and 2001, to have freight service. We put out a request for proposals, we did freight service, we got someone to come in and do 2 trips a day, or maybe it was 3 trips a day, Wayne can correct me, but we tried it for 2 years, and it wasn't a success. We tried to give people an incentive to do it by charging the same for that as we charged from Woods Hole, even though it was 3 times the distance. It still only operated at about 50 to 60% capacity, and we only recovered between 15 to 22% of our expenses. And we feel strongly that any long-term ferry service has to be financially self-sustaining. And so we're still looking at that as at what model can do that. We did that, by the way, in the 1970s and 80s with Hyannis for Nantucket. Many of you may, it's been so long, but we used to provide all of our ferry service to both islands from Woods Hole. And one of the things we did in order to mitigate the impact here and to improve service was to move all of the Nantucket service over to Hyannis. We started that in the early 70s. We were still providing large boat service up until around 1986. And then we were still providing freight boat service between Woods Hole and Nantucket until the 1990s. So we've now moved that all over to Hyannis. We're still looking for ways to do things. And we welcome the dialogue because we know that we have an impact on the traffic in Woods Hole.
Just one more question. What would this graph look like if it was pedestrians instead of vehicles?
That was the previous one.
Yeah, thank you.
And here is where one of the biggest indications that we actually had a decrease after 9/11. And, you know, we're so caught up. I mean, when I first started the Steamship Authority 23 years ago, it was year after year of unrelentless traffic increases. And now it's over the last, since 1999, we have seen a shift where it's cyclical almost with the economy. And we saw that traffic decrease back then. And I think that may have been the time where Wayne was still treasurer and he was still giving reports saying for 3 years, every month at every meeting, he was saying, and the traffic levels are lower this month than they were a year ago. And that was the 36th consecutive month that he was saying that, I'm pretty sure. And so it went back up as the economy went, then you had the financial crisis and it went a little bit back down. Again, that also came down a little bit, came back up a little bit. And a lot of these people in the off-season, I don't mean to, but they are important to Falmouth's economy. We've realized that because we provide very inexpensive excursion rate service for island residents so they can bring their cars over, particularly during the off-season. And if you go down to the Woods Hole terminal, they're filled up with groceries, with everything that every Falmouth business, I mean, they know the Falmouth vendors almost as well as they know, if not better, than the island vendors, because they feel that the island vendors simply charge for the real estate. So that's an important part. It's a balancing of a lot of considerations, and no one has a monopoly on the right answer. We're trying to balance all these with the new terminal, and with the new terminal, we're saying we're trying to make it operational. We're required to provide service out of there year-round by our Enabling Act, and we're happy to have dialogue with anyone.
During the summer, how many trips are there from Woods Hole to the Vineyard? How many boat trips?
We have 4 boats, and during the height of the summer, each of those boats make 7 trips per day. So you can say, I think safely 28 trips per day. There used to be more, by the way. I think we widened some of the freight boats and we lengthened them a little bit. So we were actually using the slips more often. Wayne should correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we reduced the number of trips, daily trips, by that. I'm not.
Now, you can't, with the staging area you have of 140, you can't get more cars onto a boat than what's in your staging area.
Well, the staging area has let's say 150 spaces.
Right.
Our boats carry 50 cars, maybe 72 cars, depending on the island home. The freight boats carry 40 cars, so it's a range from 40 cars to 60 to 70 cars. So that is 3 boatloads that you can get in the staging area, but people arrive 3 hours early, they arrive 2 hours early. You don't want to kick them off the property and create more traffic congestion, so you need to have a certain excess of staging that we have for 1 boatload. So it would be very difficult to operate more without mooring staging. We could try to move the boats quicker, which we've done, they now have a turnaround time of 30 minutes. But for the most part, people have not found it necessary. The real issue is they want to travel at a certain time of day, and you can only have same number of boats at that time, and the question is at what time of the day are they willing to travel?
But with better education, or once they learn better, there's a potential that not as much staging area is needed, in my mind, but I understand.
Right.
With the third slip being more operational, would that allow you to have more boat trips than the 28?
It would allow us to do that.
What would be that number? It could be, not that you're planning on it, but...
Well, the issue is, even with only using 2 of the slips, we could provide more than the 28 trips we're providing by another 50%.
So you could go up to 42 trips?
Just without that third slip.
So the third slip is not what would increase the number of
Correct.
boat trips?
Correct. We would do that. We could also, and that's within the same operating day. We could also increase the operating hours so that they operate later at night and early in the morning. So that's, I mean, it's, and...
When you say something like that...
I know, we are planning, but you ask a question not to give you the answer.
But that's one of the things that's very scary, is that with your Enabling Act, you can do that without us having anything to say in it. And that's awfully scary to this town that, yep, we could be running 24 hours a day through the Woods Hole Village and through the town of Falmouth, and we would have nothing to say about it. And that is just the tip of the iceberg that frightens many people in Falmouth, that the Steamship Authority has that power to be able to do. And I think that's one reason why you get a lot of people here concerned, saying, and we appreciate it's not happening, but the mere idea of knowing, well, it could.
That's a fact. I mean,
we respect that. We haven't done it, and we're...
Rebecca, you have another question?
No, go ahead. Can I be excused a minute, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Do you plan on leaving the reservation office in Mashpee, or are you going to move that to somewhere else?
We had hoped to have an administrative office building that was big enough to accommodate all of our departments. But when we looked at all of the other factors and what impact a larger building would have at Palmer Avenue, and the fact that they are in a good building that is, you don't want to disrupt the employees' lives. They're used to being there. They've been there now for maybe 20 years, I think.
Yeah, a long time.
That at the moment, we're going to leave them where they are, is the plan.
Okay. Does the plan that you just presented, the terminal site and all of that, does that allow for expansion in any way? Either the building itself or to be able to expand the services in some way?
Well, we haven't been able to figure that out if it does. The site is very constrained. It was the most challenging of all of our terminals, which is why this is our first feasibility study. It's at the point where for everything you try to do extra, you have to take something away. So does it allow for an expansion of a certain item? It does, but there's a cost to that at this point. I think we have worked that site and refined it so that the vehicle movement is as good as it can be if we were to do something. And that's what was part of the process with this community working group. They kept on pushing us to try to put things elsewhere. And when we tried to push it that way, we would find, well, it does that well, but it doesn't do this well. And so we've gone through that. And at this point, I think we're pretty much at the maximum use of that space that we reasonably can make while keeping all of the other considerations in mind.
I do know that you've made 3 presentations to the Woods Hole community. This is the first presentation you've actually made to Falmouth, and so I do want to give a chance if there are people in the audience who have some questions or concerns.
I just have one other question. Your new parking lot at Thomas Landers Road. Now, this summer, did it reach capacity, or do you still have more?
Yes, we were quite surprised by that.
Really?
When we started the project, we looked at the number of spaces we had at the Gifford Street lots and the Katama lot. We said, okay, if we increase the Palmer Avenue lot by 500 spaces and we build 1,900 spaces at Thomas B. Landers, that is going to give us a net increase of 550 spaces, I think is what we said. And we thought, well, that's sure enough. But what we found out is that when all of our lots previously reached capacity, which they did from time to time, we never knew how many additional customers were turned away. And so what happened, and this happened, we opened up the Thomas B. Landers lot last weekend in June, the Independence Day weekend, because of how it fell and the weather forecast and the fact we didn't have as many parking spaces at Palmer Avenue as we anticipated. We didn't use the Falmouth High School lot, which we technically still could if we reached an agreement with that, and that gave us several hundred more spaces. We were surprised that the Thomas B. Landers filled up, and on that occasion, we opened the Katama lot, because our goal for the town of Falmouth, I make the statement, it's from someone at the Steamship Authority who's no longer with us, but he said, we cause more problems to the town of Falmouth with the cars that we do not park as opposed to the cars that we do park and park early. Because all those people troll the streets looking for parking spaces. And so our goal, and this has been why we went up to Thomas B. Landers in the first place, is to capture them on the outskirts of town, get them off the streets, and then the shuttle buses are going to be going anyway. And so we did that with Katama. We did not open Gifford Street. We have no plans to open Gifford Street. We did that. And we have to reconsider. It hasn't happened since this summer, so we estimated pretty well, but we think we're creating more problems if we don't park people, because people get frustrated when they drive around. It also worked by just leaving that. It keeps one corridor of the shuttle buses instead of putting the shuttle buses on Gifford Street. And Gifford Street actually is a more traveled roadway, and we would rather keep the traffic congestion off of Gifford Street and just keep it on Route 28.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question? Sure. When do you anticipate awarding the bid for the new terminal? Do you have an anticipated date or range of dates?
Range of dates is much better. I mean, we gave the schedule to the board, and we said, of course, it's not going to meet that. This is a phased project because of the impacts on the community. So the work is planned to be done only in the off-season. And the first thing we have to do is we have to go through the permitting process. So that's going to take...
I'm sorry, the what?
Permitting process.
Permitting, got it.
We have to go through MEPA filings. We have to get a Chapter 91 license. We have to go through the Conservation Commission, the NOI. So we have to do that. We hope to complete all of that by next spring and issue a invitation for bids so that the initial administration building and the temporary terminal building at the terminal can be awarded and construction can begin in September of 2016. So we're a long way off. And
so in order to meet that, when would you need to make the award?
We would have
if you were to begin in September.
We would love to make the award by July, probably, I would think.
Okay. That's helpful.
Yeah, it depends upon when the permitting process. We don't want to award anything until we get the permits because it would be embarrassing to build an administrative office and then find out that, we're going to leave the one in Woods Hole vacant. So we don't want to make that type of mistake. So we're going to be doing that first. And then after that, that's a year to get that done. And then in August, September of 2017, we would move the administrative offices out to Palmer Avenue. We would occupy the temporary terminal building, and then slip 3 would then be demolished. The old general offices would be demolished and the pier excavated from 2017, 2018. 2018, 2019, slip 2 would be done. 2019 to 2020, slip 1 would be done. 2020, 21, you'd have the new terminal built. And 2021 to 2022, you would have all the site work done. So it's a long project. We've already figured out a financing plan for it so that we can pay for it out of our own revenues or our bond proceeds without impacting the bond payment, the debt service payments very much.
Thank you.
Questions from the audience? Mr. Finneran?
Steve will need to give him the microphone.
Oh, okay. Do I have to?
Thanks.
Do I have to answer?
Yeah, probably makes sense. Oh, actually, can you go over there and put it on the print of the proposed terminal?
Let's see, there are several on
Doesn't seem to have.
Did you put it on, no, you have to go back to your, you need to go back to your drive.
That worked.
Yeah.
They always say that if you have a problem, just turn it off.
Good job. It's just not processing it fast enough.
You lost it. Can you answer your question without it?
Yeah, I guess so. In all this planning, I mean, there's a huge traffic problem in Woods Hole, and the largest almost being the Water Street. And I know Dougie DaCosta tried to widen that street up several years ago, and he got nowhere. Like beat his head against the wall, not to mention the wall gang. But in any of this planning, did you ever consider putting a roundabout at the very end of Woods Hole Road? So if you got down there and the traffic was huge, you could just hang a left, or you made a mistake and you could just bang a left and get right out of town, eliminate a ton of the traffic?
Well, that's not our property. That's the town property, so that would be something that we could always discuss with the town.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all part of the same whole.
But it's always interesting, roundabouts are interesting. Pretty much that intersection already operates that way.
Well, you can't do a U-E without going down Water Street. Everybody has to go all the way around. If you could just turn right in front of the museum and head back out of town.
Are we talking at the top of the bridge?
At the top of the hill.
That intersection, from my personal experience, works pretty well. It's the issue with Water Street itself, I think, that's the issue.
Yeah, but if you came down and Water Street was packed and you didn't really have to go, you could just take a left and get out of town.
Okay.
If nobody ever considered it, you might want to.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions, concerns? Yep.
My name is Ted Fitzell, Precinct 1. I would just like to point out that if you go to Hospital Corners or to the intersection of Gifford and Jones tomorrow, they are both blocked. And we're not talking just Woods Hole, we're talking the town of Falmouth, the north-south traffic can't get through. Now, if you wanted to get to the hospital in an emergency, you might not get there. So this is preposterous to think we're going to add a third slip and then say that it's not going to get any more traffic. The vineyard isn't going to grow. The vineyard is taking over those temporary shelters all the time. They're growing. Go over there. And to think that traffic is not going to grow, the time now is for these people with their millions of dollars worth of plans to figure out how to use New Bedford as an alternate port. When Woods Hole got too crowded, they moved to Nantucket, which was a good idea. Now Woods Hole's too crowded with Martha's Vineyard. They have to use New Bedford again. Thank you.
Anyone else? Catherine?
I'm Catherine Bumpus. I'm co-president of the Woods Hole Community Association. I've spent quite a lot of time in rooms with Wayne and Steve and Bill, and I appreciate their willingness to talk to us and engage on this issue. It is clearly a big issue for the village. 1 car in 5 coming down Woods Hole Road gets on a boat. gets on a boat. That does not include people driving down to drop off. That does not include people who get lost and stop in front of my house and say, where's the Palmer Avenue lot? And I think, well, you missed it. There in Falmouth. The Community Association has worked hard with Steamship, and we appreciate that work that we've done. At the annual meeting last month, a resolution was presented to the membership and was passed, and I'm just going to read it to you so I get it right. The Woods Hole Community Association is opposed to the proposed waterfront expansion of the Steamship Authority's operation in Woods Hole. A third operational slip will be detrimental to the entire Falmouth community because of increased traffic, leading to increased pollution and consequent risks to public health, risk to public safety accompanying the increased traffic congestion, and an ever greater volume of hazardous materials being transported on the ferries, adding to the already high potential for serious accidents. A third operational slip will also be detrimental to Falmouth's marine environment. The association asked the membership that the board actively pursue all avenues to limit the steamship's expansion. So that was presented and voted unanimously by the membership at the annual meeting. And so we're here saying it is the increased capacity that we are very concerned about in this. They could increase capacity anyway. I think maybe the town should start looking at some sort of an agreement to say, we have reached capacity for Woods Hole and Falmouth, and maybe we should think about asking them to consider volume going elsewhere. It is something to consider. In the 70s, when they put a second operational slip in Vineyard Haven, they said, we don't see any increase in growth. We don't anticipate any increase in growth. There won't be any growth. That hasn't held true. That was, I think, an honest statement on the steamship's part at that time. I think there needs to be something in place if we really actually want to limit it. And so I hope you will consider that.
Any other comments?
Phil Logan, Precinct 1. I understand that the Steamship Authority has let a contract for the design of a new vessel that's going to replace one of the existing ones. I wonder if you'd care to comment on the relative capacities of the two vessels.
We are currently constructing the MV Woods Hole. It is designed to be a 235-foot long passenger freight vessel, which has a capacity of 10 trucks or 50 car equivalent units. It's something we use at the Steamship Authority. 50 standard size automobiles or 10 freight trucks or a combination of the two. It will have a passenger capacity of around 384 persons, I believe. It may go up to 512 people. By comparison, the freight boats carry around 39 to 40 car equivalent units. They carry, except for the MV Governor, which can carry around, I think, as many as 60 car equivalent units. And the passenger capacity of the freight boats vary between 149 passengers up to around 256 passengers. The larger boats carry anywhere from 50 cars on their decks. The Island Home has also lift decks where it can carry, I think, 12 more cars, so it may get up to, I think, my memory is even 60 or 72 cars total. It all depends on the size of the cars. And their larger boats have passenger capacity of around anywhere from 750 up to 1,200 passengers. Those are rough numbers, but it's somewhere, the MV Woods Hole is somewhere in between our smallest freight boat and our largest passenger boat.
And which is it likely to replace?
Pardon?
Which boat is it likely to replace?
It depends. It's going to be replacing a boat on each route from time to time. We are still looking at whether it's when and at what time of the year it should be on the Vineyard route and what times of the year it should be on the Nantucket route. Nantucket route has a large truck demand, which it would help out on because it's designed to carry 10 trucks that weigh a lot. which our other freight boats can't do. And so that may help get the trucks out of Hyannis earlier in the morning, which was a benefit to the Hyannis community. We think because of its name that it should, our emotional feeling is that it should start its life in Woods Hole. And so for the summer of 2016, we're expecting delivery at the end of April of 2016. We have to do some tests for marine evacuation slides. That's always an important test. And get it on the schedule in time for the summer season, which is mid-May of 2016. So tentatively, we're leaning towards recommending that it start its life in Woods Hole, the Vineyard route. At the moment, we don't know whether it will replace the Governor or whether it will replace one of our other freight boats, which would be the Katama, I believe, if it doesn't replace the Governor.
But you aren't expecting to have 5 boats running between Martha's Vineyard and Woods Hole as opposed to the 4. This is just where the numbers get scary, is that it was 4 boats, 7 times, 28. Now,
we are not.
Okay.
We are planning a 4-boat schedule for the summer of 2016. That's what, and we are making our preliminary version at the Hyannis meeting a week from Tuesday, on August 18th. What happens is we put it out there a month in advance, we put it up for comment, it'll be posted on our website, and then we will ask our board members to vote on that proposed schedule at the September meeting, which is held in Nantucket. I would give a little spin for this, that anyone who wants to attend any of our meetings on any of the islands, we give them free parking and free transportation. They just have to go and let us know in advance so we let them know. So if you want to take a trip to Nantucket in September, which is a lovely time of year, the meetings, as long as you check in at the meeting, don't just go and, and have some donuts and leave. If you actually stay for the meeting, you can spend the rest of the day on the island as well.
So I just wanted to correct Mr. Jones just before the next question. There are occasions when we do operate 5 vessels in Woods Hole, and it's primarily to get people off the island. So not this weekend, but the following weekend at the end of the President's visit, there's going to be a lot of people, including the Secret Service, that are going to want to get off. And so to accommodate that with the number of people that we already have on the wait list, we think it's better to provide the service if we can. So we will bring the backup vessel out of Fairhaven and run that for 4 or 5 trips a day, Saturday, Sunday, possibly even Monday, by bringing in extra crews to provide that service. So I didn't want you to think that it's just limited to the 4 vessels.
I did, because that's exactly what I heard. So I appreciate that clarification. Certainly what would make me individually feel better, and potentially the Woods Hole group, and I'm not sure about the rest of the board, is if we ever could get a memorandum of understanding saying the number of boats, trips will be this and not more, the number of people will be this and not more. That would make a lot of people feel a lot better, as opposed to, well, we don't plan on it, we don't anticipate it, but saying if it does become more, the Steamship Authority will come up with some other solution. And that's saying I'm asking to go back to your board and say, is there something like that that could be proposed? Because that we think would alleviate a lot of the concerns that are out there right now.
I understand. But this is the lifeline for the islands, so that any change would have to be taken up with the legislature.
I'm not asking for a change, I'm asking for a status quo.
No, we're asking for an agreement to change or limit the capacity or the operation of the authority, and not knowing what the future will bring. I don't know how they can, it would have to be something that the legislature would have to take up. We're required to provide adequate service for the islands. I mean, it would be similar to having people in Bourne say they don't want Falmouth traffic coming through anymore and circling them through Sandwich and Mashpee. And as far as I know, that isn't doable. So that one town can block traffic to another town.
Rebecca?
Do you mind just a second, Wayne?
Yes.
What is your capacity right now? If you say you need to go to the legislature to ask for increase, I mean, it seems like you can increase the number of runs that you have and you can have larger boats. Well, what's your capacity with the legislature?
There isn't any. It's to provide adequate service.
Well, what is adequate service?
Well, that's when people are calling and they can't get space on the road especially people coming off the island, trying to get off the island, and try to make doctor's appointments and shopping or just family visits. So when they can't get off by noontime and they're sitting in a standby line in the off season, now we're talking mostly in the off season, because we put the same limits in Vineyard Haven that we have in Woods Hole during the summer. So we have to look at our schedule from year to year and see where we need to increase service. And again, what I'm talking about is in the off seasons. So there's no limit on the number of trips that can be operated under the Enabling Act.
It just, I understand the people from the island need to be in Falmouth or in Boston because of an illness or whatever. But I don't think that's the thing that is driving your decisions about the number of people that go to the island and come back again. I don't think that would be your major driving force. I guess the point that I get to, that I'm thinking, is the conversation in Falmouth is there are too many cars on the road. There are not places to park in Falmouth if you haven't used the parking lots that are allowed. The noise on the road, the starting too early, all of that Falmouth takes in a very heavy hit. And when we look and I listen what's happening with the Steamship Authority, it seems to want to go bigger and more. And I think we're already at a point that it is full.
But you saw the graph.
I did see the graph.
And those are the numbers.
Yes.
And so we're not seeing a dramatic increase in the number of vehicles or passengers either during the summer months, or if there is, it's in the off-season.
It'd be great if you were comfortable saying it's not going to grow and we agree it won't grow. But you're telling us to accept it won't grow.
No,
but you won't accept it.
No, I can't stand here as general manager, and the board and the members from the Vineyard and Nantucket would have to agree to any type of a...
But you're telling us, don't worry, it won't grow.
I'm not saying that.
Really? I thought that's what the application that Steve says. It hasn't grown over the past 15 years, and it's not going to grow. And we don't anticipate any growth.
We're limited.
Then I really misunderstood if that's not what he said.
Well, we're limited by the staging area in Woods Hole.
I certainly saw Steve saying the numbers are flat, and we anticipate them staying flat. We have no anticipation of growth in your, unless I misheard you.
I think you're going a little bit more. What we put out those numbers for is we looked at it internally to see what did we want to rebuild the terminal for.
Right.
And we said we are not going to rebuild the terminal to give us more capacity for growth in terms of staging because the numbers don't bear it out. And that's what we're doing. So we're making that design decision about the terminal, about what the staging numbers are. The staging capacity is staying the same. Parking capacity is going down dramatically. We're moving the administrative offices off. We don't know. We don't have a crystal ball like anyone else. And we have a statutory responsibility to provide adequate transportation, which is important for both the island residents and their tourist economy, and Falmouth for their economy too. Because all these people, many of these people are coming over here and spending money here. I think we have a payroll consisting of Falmouth residents. I think the plurality of people we hire are from Falmouth. We have many, many vendors who have businesses in Falmouth. We want to make certain that we treat them fairly. It's a very complicated balancing test. Our life is one constant negotiation. We have, unions. We have all of these factors we consider. We want to assure you that the decisions we make, we do consider seriously the impact that they have on the town of Falmouth in terms of traffic. And we have tried as best we can to mitigate that traffic congestion time and time again throughout the decades. The problem with moving lock, stock, and barrel, or even putting a cap on capacity in Woods Hole is that would be against the mission, our statutory mission of the Enabling Act, which is what Wayne is saying, because we have a statutory obligation. But we haven't seen a way to make it financially viable to have a vehicle capacity ferry service from New Bedford to the Vineyard yet. And we tried that. We have tried it in 2000, 2001, and we, as I said, those statistics were only 15 to 22% of expenses we got back in revenues. And if you don't have a independent, financially viable service, it's not going to last, which is why we had the problem in 1960 with New Bedford, and when New Bedford was excised. We would love to be able to tell you, and maybe someone will come up with a proposal that says this New Bedford service is viable and it makes sense. And we will consider that. We have a licensing policy that if someone comes with us with a proposal, we consider it. We have hearings, but we haven't, no one's come forward. I mean.
Any other questions? Yeah. We are going to try to wrap this up because we do have.
Should I stand here?
Oh, fine.
My name is Eugenie Kufler. I'm Precinct 1. I also feel that the third slip, in considering the huge investment that this whole project will incur, that it is only reasonable to think financially that the Steamship Authority will do everything they need to do to get their investment back. That's the way businesses run. And the second thing that I haven't heard people talk about is that, from what I understand, the 3 slips, this will be a little further back, but the ferries will come out 90 feet more into the harbor. And that's a problem for the boats that, as I understand it, come out of the eel pond, because they already turn around here, the ferries, and these tourists, small vessels come out here, and that's a lot of congestion. And there's also a lot of conservation concern in the eel pond already to protect that environment. And so if you have 3 big boats working 5, 6 trips or whatever a day, that's a lot of environmental disturbance.
Brian?
Good evening. I'm Brian Von Hersen from the Climate Foundation, and we own a property on Little Harbor Road. I've spoken with 3 of our close neighbors, and the issues that seem to affect the neighborhood the most in the immediate neighborhood is really the truck traffic and the truck noise. I talk with my close neighbors, and the main issue is the sound of the trucks going by as early as 3:30 in the morning. That's one of the main issues. Other neighbors I've spoken with have experienced the problem of diesel idling, and it's a problem because the truck drivers will idle their trucks for a long period of time, and that diesel smoke travels often from the southwest to the northeast. In this picture, that's from the bottom to the top, and it actually goes from the parking lot straight to the houses. And so they actually experience the diesel smoke for hours on end till those trucks actually get on the ferry. And the third problem is that I've personally experienced that from 3:30 in the morning until 6:30 in the morning, you get the sound of trucks backing up, and that's at the present time. And it sounds exactly like an alarm clock. You can just imagine, within the last week, at 3:30 in the morning, I'm hearing beep, 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 and pretty much my sleep stops around 3:30 in the morning. What I'd love to do is find a way to work with the Steamship Authority so that between the hours of 3:30 and 6:30 in the morning, we're not backing trucks up. With the current plan, and in the future, with whatever future plan we have, we're not backing trucks up before 6:30 in the morning. That's really key. On a larger scale, I'm firmly convinced that building a second lifeline for freight from New Bedford to Martha's Vineyard is an enormous opportunity. Maybe it should be seasonal, maybe it should be done in a way that offloads the trucks from a lot of traffic. For example, if a truck driver actually goes with the truck all the way to Martha's Vineyard, drops his load off and comes back, he spends an extra 6 hours from New Bedford driving around, getting to Woods Hole, waiting for the ferry, getting over there, coming back, and all the rest. In that much time, he could do another trip to New York and get back. There's got to be a way to actually drop a load, an 18-wheeler in New Bedford, get it on a green ferry, and by a green ferry, we're looking at natural gas, we're looking at other low fossil fuel alternatives. And I think those kind of creative ideas can build a second lifeline for Martha's Vineyard that reduces the load on the first lifeline while enabling a second lifeline so that Martha's Vineyard gets what they need, and that is multiple lifelines to getting what they need, and at the same time being able to reduce the impact of trucks to the Woods Hole and Falmouth area. I think that's a key opportunity as we go forward, and there's a way to make that happen, and let's start with the truck vehicle traffic. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Wayne and Stephen. Great presentation. A lot of good information was received.
Thank you.
You can just close it out.
Dan?
Can we get a copy?
No, you don't want to do that. Vote the constable, maybe? I don't care.
That's perfect.
We have to run all
I'm
these
glad it
people,
worked for you.
anyway.
I was nervous for a minute.
We're going to take a
there.
2-minute recess.
Yeah, just
I think
stand.
that's yours.
Call us back to order. First item of business on our return is
Now the
to
fast freeze is cut on.
appoint a constable. We have an application of Mr. William Dalton. The recommendation from the chief of police that no reason he should not be appointed constable. Mr. Dunn, would you like to introduce yourself, please? Sorry, Mr. Dalton.
My name is Bill Dalton. I'm a Mashpee resident. However, I visit your town every single day of the week. I am also the deputy sheriff of the county of Boston. And Falmouth is my primary area, Falmouth, Mashpee, Sandwich.
I was not sure of this. There's no residency requirement for a constable in Falmouth.
There isn't, no.
Okay. Any questions from the board for Mr. Dalton?
That would have been my question, was the residency. And you don't have to be a Falmouth resident to be a Falmouth constable?
No, you don't.
Okay.
So how long have you been a constable, Mr. Dalton?
I'm working on I'm almost at 17 years.
Oh, 17 years.
I've been a deputy sheriff.
Deputy sheriff?
Yes.
Okay. And you do a lot, do you do as a deputy sheriff some of this, I would imagine, some of the same activities that a constable does?
Yes. A constable, the difference between the two is as a deputy sheriff, I can go anywhere in Barnstable County. Your constables can only practice in the community that they're elected by or in. For example, Falmouth here, I would apply to you folks. But I would not be able to serve civil process outside of the town.
Unless we appointed you in the town. Is that what you're saying?
No. No, as a constable, I could serve anything within the town limits. As a deputy sheriff, I presently can go outside anywhere in the county. That's the difference between the two.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions?
No.
I just had a quick question. You also mentioned you were in business. What was the business?
In business,
anything other than a constable?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
No, that's all.
Pleasure of the board.
I'll move to appoint.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Mr. William Dalton as a constable in Falmouth. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Congratulations, Mr. Dalton.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, a request for a sign variance. This is to refurbish 2 existing signs and install 1 new sign at the Falmouth Mall, 137 T-Ticket Highway. We have a recommendation from the Design Review Committee. They voted on the first sign to recommend approval.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I can pass them out. Sure.
My name is Carol Bugby, and I'm from Barlow Sign Company up in Hudson, New Hampshire. I reside at 40 Marshview Circle, East Sandwich, Mass. And here tonight representing our client, the Falmouth Mall at 137 T-Ticket Highway. The mall is seeking to refurbish 2 existing ground signs and to replace the existing sign at Spring Bars Road entrance. We're requesting a variance from the sign bylaw, Chapter 184, for the number of signs, the size of the signs, clearance, and the illumination. The Design Review Board has recommended approval. You have a copy of that letter. And they felt that the size of the property and the multiple entrances warranted the refurbishing of the signs, and they approved them as submitted. Their letter was dated August 1st, 2015. The existing signs are in disrepair. The wood is breaking off and it's rotting, and they really need some updating. I'll go through each one. Presently, there exists 1 primary freestanding sign facing T-Ticket Highway, which requires relief. The total square footage of the proposed sign is 109.65 square feet, where 100 is allowed. A clearance of 7 feet is required. However, the existing sign has been there for several years and has served the community without problem. We intend to use the existing structure and foundation, and the bylaw allows an exception if there's adequate visibility for vehicles and adequate pedestrian safety. The sign will also have internal illumination, but the background will be opaque, so only the letters will illuminate. You'll see a photomorph on the back of the last page, which shows you what it'll look like when it's illuminated. That'll require relief since it's over 100 square feet. The ground floodlights will be removed to reduce the glare on motorists. The second sign is facing Worcester Court, and that measures 39.26 square feet and requires relief as the code allows for a second sign only at 16 square feet. The clearance is the same as the first at approximately 3 foot 8 inches. And this sign has existed in this location and provided adequate identification for several years as well. Finally, the third sign is replacing an existing sign, which I drove by there, and that is got just plywood over it. It looks like it's been falling apart and the faces fell off. And this will mark the entrance to the mall for motorists on the Spring Vase Road entrance. It'll require relief for number, size, clearance, and illumination. The proposed sign is 59 square feet with a clearance of approximately 3 feet and will be illuminated in the same manner as the other two signs. All three signs will have a clearance of from 3 feet to 3.9 feet. The lot shape and the contour makes this parcel unique in that the mall stores are set back several hundred feet from the main entrance, making the signs very difficult, the wall signs very difficult to read. Motorists attempting to read the wall signs are hampered by the visibility from T-Ticket Highway, Worcester Court, and Spring Vase Road. In addition to distance, there are several businesses along the roadways that make visibility, in some cases, impossible. So we're here tonight to answer any question you may have regarding the signs, and we ask for your approval.
The first two have the brick bases, but
Yes.
not the third one. The third one is just aluminum base.
No, that will have, that will be a fabricated aluminum base.
Okay. Pat?
The lighting.
Yes.
It says here that it will be shielded LED downlighting. Is that up under the, where it says Falmouth Mall?
That's correct. That will just illuminate the word Falmouth Mall.
And does it come on at dark? I mean,
It'll be on a timer.
Be on a timer?
It'll come on at dark, and it'll go, I don't know what the bylaw allows, but it'll go off when the bylaw, whatever the bylaw requires.
So is the width of the new sign approximately the same
Yes.
as the current sign? It's the height?
The height's, it's a little bit higher to accommodate that Falmouth Mall copy.
Oh, I see.
Right.
So I see it every day when I
know.
go to Starbucks. I mean, I know exactly where it is.
Right.
And I'm just trying to imagine the larger sign.
Right. And
It would be like I'm so cold, my teeth are chattering.
freezing.
It's 9 square feet larger than the current sign. Is that correct?
Yes, that's approximately right. You have to include that little pointed triangle and the thing that brings that whole thing up to about 100 square feet.
Okay.
So we're pretty close.
So it's about 8 inches taller and 2 feet wide, 2 feet wider.
Pardon me?
It's about 8 inches taller and about 2 feet wider, right?
Yes.
8 inches tall? 80 inches?
8.
8. Yeah, okay.
Roughly. Rebecca?
I'd like to talk about the framing.
Okay.
If I look at this very last picture that has the light, it's, I don't know that, I don't know if that frame for each one of the individual signs, there is no white wood on any of this in the framing?
It's not. It's an aluminum, it's a sprayed aluminum. The trouble with the wood is it's been rotting.
Well, new wood. If you made all of the frames on the side, because as I came down Main Street or I'm over on T-Ticket, wherever there's a business, I've been looking to see how many signs have the wood frame painted white, and then depending on how they want to have it to look a little ornate or to add on the top of it, they're very attractive. This isn't attractive at all. This frame is just what you said. It looks like aluminum. And I don't think of Falmouth frames or signs as looking like aluminum.
Some of the frames that you are probably looking at that you think are wood could be high-density urethane, which is what...
Fine, that's fine with me, as long as it's white and looks like wood.
It does, you can't tell the difference.
If you can make the aluminum look like white wood, that'd be fine, but it's very not Falmouth.
We could do the high-density urethane, and then it would look, it looks like wood.
That's fine.
But it's used all the time in carved signs because you can't tell the difference when in a carved sign using the high-density urethane, and it weathers. The trouble is the weather. The salt water just ruins the wood within a year.
Okay, let's just say that it looks like wood and it's painted white. So whatever product you want to use for that, but I look at this and I think it belongs in other towns.
Okay.
I don't think this is a Falmouth sign at all.
We can do that.
Thank you. Because I think on the design review, if they've given you a little leeway, you could maybe do a little leeway and make them all white, whatever the material is.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Motion?
I move approval with Rebecca's suggestion of the white-looking material, wood-looking.
Okay.
Is that clear?
That's fine.
Great.
Second?
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None? Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice presentation.
Thanks for staying.
That's great.
We learned a lot about ferries.
Next is to discuss and vote position on the Route 151 and 28A intersection design. We did ask for any public comment. I did not receive any emails. Did anyone else on the board receive any feedback from the public on this?
Not on this time. Not this go-round.
Do we have?
I did. I asked for a hand count
Okay.
the other day. I was in a group of people. There were maybe about 10, 11 people there. And of the 11, 7 of them were in favor of the roundabout. Just thought I'd mention that. So you asked me if I've
What
had
was the
any.
demographic?
That was in North Falmouth.
But like a mixed age group?
No. It was,
Older folks or younger folks?
Younger than I am.
Before we
Because
get
everybody's younger
That's
than
too
I am.
much information.
before we get into our deliberation, do we have a question either for either the two chiefs or for our Assistant Department of Public Works Director, Deputy Director?
Do you want me to just give a brief overview, or do you pretty much know, everyone knows what the...
I think we know the issue.
I think we know.
Yes.
I think we do.
But it's very nice, Peter. I'm glad you put it up there because I know it's familiar, but at least it's there and it's nice to.
Mr. Patterson?
I did receive one request from a member of the Disabilities Committee, and to make sure that if it's a roundabout, that the splitter island has enough room in the middle so that they can cross into that island safely, and then decide when they're going to go the rest of the distance across. So that was the comment. And can we get any assurances out of the state that in fact they would comply with that request? I'm a little bothered because I've seen all kinds of roundabouts, but the one that seems to really be best is the one that has those splitter islands in there with the pedestrian crossings that go through them. And I think that's what this person was asking for, is some reassurance that that would be the version of a roundabout if in fact it was used there at that 151 and 28 intersection.
Yeah, all the information that I reviewed, the two presentations that MassDOT had come to go over to the Herman Room at the library last fall, indicated that it would be a wider splitter island in that area. The question is in the winter time, it's very hard to clear those splitter islands. So when you start getting into the winter time, you might have a little bit tougher time on that. But the design, they would look at wider splitter islands, wider areas, safe areas for pedestrians and bicycles.
Thank you. Either chief, do you either want to make a final word on this before we get into our deliberation?
Do you mind if I just say just a couple of quick ones?
Sure, go right ahead.
I know we've looked at this and talked about it. I think actually I was counting at the last presentation. This is our 6th meeting on this. We've had 3 from MassDOT and we've had 3 in-house. And yes, there's a lot of information out there. Everybody can get online and pull up information on the roundabout. I think the big things to make it simple is exactly what Mr. Patterson said, is the splitter islands. The way a roundabout is set up for the benefits is continuous flow. You don't have traffic signals. It's going to be a continuous flow over there, so the vehicles slow down. The bicycles, when you see the pavement markings, what's going to happen with the bicycles is the edge line where the bikes usually ride, you'll see that narrows into the center lane. And so the bicyclists will be encouraged to actually take the lane and follow through the roundabout. And for pedestrians, what happens is the first vehicle that stops or slows down waiting to get into the queue, the pedestrian steps behind that first vehicle and in front of the other vehicle coming. So there's no stop, there's no crosswalks, there's no stop signals. It's a continuous movement of vehicles. And that's the benefit for a roundabout. So that's the benefit. To me, both options work. They both work. For vehicles, they work very well. I think with the roundabout for me, it's the pedestrians and the bicycles. But they both work, and they'll both work better.
Really, public comment was supposed to have been done by email in the other meetings.
I just want to share an incident that I witnessed the other day, and again, as I said before, I'm just concerned for safety. Either option, again, I think either one would work. It's just that each one needs their own safety. What I want to share with you, the other day I was at the intersection and I observed a vehicle going northbound on 28A, attempting to make a left-hand turn onto Route 151, and a vehicle going southbound on 28A, presumably going straight, when they both collided in the middle of the intersection. And they both collided in the middle of the intersection because I believe they're both trying to beat the light. So if you're going to stick with the conventional lights, I don't remember what the plans were. I believe there was going to be a turn lane or an arrow, something similar to what said stop and shop or something to that effect. Or the roundabout, they would have slowed down. I think they both have the benefits. It's just a matter of which one do we really want to live with there. But that's similar to what most of the accidents that are up there at 151. When they take out the light pole, it seems to be the turning of left lanes and somebody else going straight. But just wanted to share that with
Chief Sullivan?
I tend to agree with Peter that the roundabout is a fine way to work, but that the stoplight would be a safer thing for the pedestrians and the bicyclists. And I also like the idea if we can have the control of red light with the newer red light in there for the emergency vehicles to get through the red light, which would be a benefit for us, I believe, as far as responding out of the North Falmouth station. But I think either one would be.
Mr. Young, did you have a question you wanted to ask? Or? Quick comment.
Bob Young, Precinct 5. Like Mary Pat, I had spoken to some people in the area in the village, and I've been to the meeting that the DOT presented, and the roundabout seems to be the way to go. I actually went into the meeting not in favor of the roundabout, but after seeing the demonstration and going through various roundabouts, I found them easy to navigate, and I find them to be more pedestrian friendly. The situation we have up there now, there's a wide intersection, and it's almost impossible for people to walk through that intersection. You take your life in your hands to get through. So I'd strongly urge you to support the roundabout. Thank you.
Anyone else? So are we ready to vote?
I will make a motion that we endorse the concept of the roundabout at the North Falmouth and the 28A and Route 151 intersection in North Falmouth.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Moran?
I firmly believe that the issues that were brought up, pedestrian safety And the accident that the chief witnessed, and he just also said that that would have been averted with a turn lane. I think this is one of the most difficult decisions this board will make, because we know that if it's a traffic signal intersection, it can only be an improvement. There are going to be turning lanes, there are going to be fire engine signals that will make it safer. There are crosswalks. There are lights for crosswalks. When bikes go into the crosswalk, the traffic stops. Folks can cross even if they're not watching the children in back, or even if they're distracted. It is a very safe decision, and it's no question it's going to be an improvement on that intersection. On the other side, if we throw up a whole new concept of the roundabout, which all of these 6 presentations never really showed on the presentation, one that has as busy a commercial situation as we do here. I think that there are going to be reverberations that for one, I mean, one of the few intersections in town that isn't constantly bottlenecked, I think there's a good chance that it might be. I spoke with Jill Irving, who is the director or head of the Senior Citizen Center. I said, what's your feeling from what most people, what do they say about this? And her view is like, a lot of people are not going to know what to do. Unless you, especially if people out of town, maybe English isn't their first language, a lot of people just drive safer and better if they have that clear signal where they're not watching, okay, now there's a bike there, now there are kids, now there's something else, as opposed to just the traffic flow from the lights in an improved situation. So I would not be in favor of that motion.
Well, I think Sue makes, very, very good points for a signaled intersection. As many times as I go through that, because even though I live in West Falmouth, my P.O. box is in North Falmouth, so I'm up there almost every day. One of the things I think that I see, because I drive so much between here and Barnstable, is how people speed up when they approach a signalized intersection, especially if the light's green. They hit the pedal trying to make the green light. Whereas I notice when I go through the roundabouts, and they're smaller roundabouts, obviously, is that the traffic immediately starts to slow down. Everybody starts to slow down as they approach the roundabout, because you can't speed through a roundabout. It's just not possible to do it. So I think the traffic calming effect of a roundabout has a lot of safety concepts to it, where people know that they have to slow down. And I understand that it's a busy intersection. I have to say, though, and I've lived in North Falmouth for, I don't know, well, I've lived in the whole area for 40-some years, so I've driven through that intersection many, many times, more than I could count. But I seldom ever see a pedestrian there. I don't see them. I know there are pedestrians that cross from the parking lot to the beach house, because that's something they do, but that's not at the intersection. And maybe there are. They just are not there when I'm there. But nevertheless, I understand the benefits of the signalized intersection, but I also realize the enormous benefits of the roundabout.
Rebecca?
I think the first thing is we didn't ask for this. The state came to us and said that that was the intersection they decided that Falmouth needs a roundabout. We didn't have any discussion. It wasn't anything that something terrible was happening at that intersection and we need to change the traffic pattern. We didn't ask for it. When we were told it was what was going to happen, I think that's why the 6 meetings happened, because we weren't prepared as such. It wasn't like 2 years ago they said the state's going to come and ask you to put in a roundabout. I think roundabouts have an absolute purpose, but there is not enough space from each one of the corners that sit with the traffic, with the highways in between, the size of that roundabout for the amount of cars that are going to come into it is going to cause more congestion. If you could go into the land and you could make a really good size roundabout, I think then it would handle the traffic and I think it would be fine. But visually, it's a very small area, and I don't know about walkers. I don't know how many people walk, but I think maybe from the pizza place, maybe some are going over to the bike, or even from the drugstore that is there. But it's not a place that I would think we would be thinking of a roundabout. There are places in Falmouth, in Falmouth, that have terrible intersections, and I think a roundabout would be kind of nice at some of those. But 151 and 28A doesn't have enough space for the size of a roundabout with the amount of traffic that is going to the beach. And I think if there's an improved signal light there, we would do just as well. So I'm not for the roundabout.
Sam?
Well, I was against the roundabout and for the signalized intersection until I read the reports that our town planner provided to me. And these were reports from Europe and as well as the United States. And the one United States case was in Amherst, Massachusetts. It's a very busy intersection with a lot of college students and a lot of staff and people in general moving through that community. And when you look at the statistics, it's very convincing. Roundabout is going to be a safer intersection for vehicles mostly, secondarily for pedestrians, and slightly safer for bicyclists. I think if we just get out of this subjective mode of saying what we think is going to be better and take a look at what people's more objective studies are telling us, I have to say I have to vote for a roundabout because I'm not going to create a less safe intersection with something new. So I'm convinced. I think the state has looked at it carefully, and I don't know what their motivations were for targeting that particular intersection. Perhaps it's because the age of the signalized equipment requires, an upgrade, and because as Peter pointed out, the accident rate hit their threshold, and that's why they said, oh, well, this makes sense. There's a slightly higher accident rate, and, we've got to replace this signal anyway, so let's take a look at a new concept. And Peter's layout suggests that there is room in that intersection. So I'm going to vote to support the state's recommendation based on the research that I have reviewed.
Sue?
One last point regarding the bicycles. Just going by there this past weekend, there is a bicycle gathering area, shop, whatnot. Must have been 50 bikes right there just this weekend. There just is a huge amount of bicycle traffic in that area, and it is growing.
My 2 cents are, I do think that there are some good places in this town for a roundabout to inform our residents as to how to work them. I don't think this is the right place to start. We have the state telling us one thing, we have our local people telling us something else. It's really tight. I'm inclined to go with our local people who know this road, know our traffic patterns, know the people who are driving that and following their recommendation. So I'll hold a vote. All those in favor of the motion to support the roundabout?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Aye. It's defeated 2-3. Do we want to have a different motion?
No, have a different motion.
I'll make a motion for the improved intersection.
It's going to come out the
version.
same way.
Well,
Three
if
of
he wants
two.
a motion, I think it would be nice to have a motion in
Opposed to
favor.
motion that goes.
Exactly.
Whatever.
We have a motion to recommend the traffic signal intersection. Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion, or can we just go ahead and have it in the vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. Motion passes 3-2.
Can I just make one final comment?
Sure.
I think with this decision, what will happen is the MassDOT will go back and they were at a preliminary stage, so what they'll do now is they'll come across with the 25%. So I think with that intersection and all the concerns that have been brought up, that we really should keep an eye on the design of this and make sure that they do, especially as we had said last time, the legs, the ends of the legs, that they go as far as they say they're going to go, up over the bike path and further on down to the Summer Winds subdivision down in that area. So.
And on that point, and something that Mary Pat mentioned here, and I know you've mentioned earlier, in front of the beach, the restaurant, that they're, I think there was a mention of a warning sign to kind of slow that down, because that does seem to be the speed pickup area.
I think what they're going to be looking at, hopefully, they have talked about those the RF, the rapid flashing, rotating beacons, and something like that. I would like to see it to be almost like a presence, a sense, not a push button. At nighttime it gets dark. It's very dark up in that area. So I think between the pavement markings and the signage up there will be a big increase too. But I'll be working close with the state. Our new town engineer will be working closely.
Oh, right. And also with the business, I mean, it not only gives warning to the upcoming intersection, but it's also a lot of crossing there because the parking lot's on the opposite side.
Well, but the same thing can be said of the bike path, because the parking is just across the street. And I think that's where all that traffic is coming from, is because they're going in there to get back to their cars, and not necessarily for the bike shop. That's been my observation in driving through there. But again, I think that particular crossing there, we need to push the state hard to try to make that very clear and warn. I don't know whether we can do something like was done on Woods Hole Road, Elm Street area. That kind of dynamic warning when people are actually about to cross the road is actually much more effective than just static signs.
Yeah, and when you look at that, it's kind of short change for an intersection of that size is short change. And they did mention in both alternatives that they were going to go up and over the bike path to connect into that parking lot. So
good. Great.
We'll be looking into that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have individual selectmen's report. Do you have any reports? Well, I'll report for. Enjoyed attending both the Falmouth Heights Mara Vista Village Association meeting and also the East Falmouth Village Association meetings. That have been very informative about the issues in those particular villages, and it's a nice opportunity to actually have people come up and raise questions and issues that can sensitize you to things that are coming up. We've certainly enjoyed the National Night Out for at the the police department, excuse me. That's late, isn't it? Yeah. And then I might mention one other thing that the police are doing, and they've been meeting with different neighborhoods to try to help them feel a little bit more secure, but also to encourage them to call in whenever they see something that's out of the ordinary. There was a very nice meeting with several of this is at the police station, with the Kerrywood Estate folks and Jamie Lane off of Brick Hill, just north of Brick Hill Road. And I thought it was a very effective presentation. They even invited the sheriff's K-9 group to come in and talk about how they use those two K-9 officers who pretty much are based out of Falmouth in support of our local police department. So it was a nice way to really have, local residents meet officers who are specifically assigned to support those communities and try to coach them on things that they could do. One of the comments was just simply putting in floodlights that are actuated by the presence of a warm body as it goes around the house. And one of the police officers actually said he has one on each of the corners of his house, so that if anybody's trying to walk around behind the house, the lights will come on as they pass into those various areas. So some nice suggestions made that way. And I thought, like what Chief Dunn has actually indicated, they're doing so many proactive things to help people know how to respond and make this a more secure community, and I very much appreciated that. That's it.
Just a quick add-on at the Mara Vista Neighborhood Association. Mary Pat and I were speaking with same thing with Jim Cummings, who was there.
Exactly right. Yep.
And just with respect to some the behavior at the beach being difficult for families, and that there was a request that the police keep an eye on, drinking and that sort of thing. And that Jim said that he would mention to the chief that the need for that, and they would try to do additional checks and maybe work out a more consistent program for next year.
And I think he did do that. I did that. I talked to the town manager about it. That's something that we need to include to the degree we can in the budget for next year, so that they get at least a certain amount of the service that the Old Silver Beach gets, only theirs is with a different focus, and mostly it's because of the amount of drinking that occurs on the beach in the summer over in the Heights.
I do have one question for the board as to whether you'd like to have a future agenda item be that this board votes an opinion on the Marriott Spring Hills plan.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that would be
So
a good
next
thing to
agenda,
do.
next meeting we'll have this agenda item to
It's very good
discuss it.
idea.
If I may say, I'm a county commissioner's representative on the Cape Cod Commission, and I can tell you that I was on the subcommittee for the Lowe's project in the town of Dennis, and even though there were 39 hours of hearings in the community, there was a lot of pro and anti and all of that. I would say most of the citizens in the town were not for it, but I thought that one thing that would have really helped the commission would have been something from the selectmen that said, well, what do you think about it? You're the leaders of the town. Are you for this project or not? So I think it's really appropriate that at some point when you have the information, and that has to be before August. Well, we're not going to meet before then. I think the commission meets on August 20th, but that's okay. It may go through the commission, but it still has to go through local review in the town. So at some point, I think the selectmen could take a position on it, and it would be helpful. So it's too late now, I think, for the commission, but not too late for the planning board and the zoning board, because they'll be taking it up. Just my thoughts.
Will the full commission be taking it up?
Yes, on August, is it Thursday, there's the 20th? Not this Thursday, the following Thursday, a week from Thursday.
So we don't have time for that.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
Unless we thought it was important enough to,
what did I do with my
Have a
time?
meeting next Monday.
right.
Did you take it?
I thought it was mine. I'm
Oh.
sorry.
Would the board like to have a meeting next Monday to at least have,
definitely.
so we could express a
would.
view on this item?
I would do that.
Sure.
Okay, I would
Oh,
also.
I've already signed this. Yeah, that's fine with me.
Great.
So
I think that'd be
we'll
helpful.
Schedule it and post it for Monday.
Certainly. Same time, 7?
7 o'clock.
And
Then you should come to the
there will
commission
be a
meeting.
full agenda, or we're just going to meet to have our discussion on the Marriott?
We have an agenda on other things for the 24th already
Yes,
scheduled, so I would suggest that we are going to have it on this issue.
just this issue?
Yep.
Perfect.
Mr. Chairman, we should ask whether the board wants a presentation.
Well, I've gone to several of the meetings, I myself.
I'm just asking if you want to have someone in attendance, if you would like to direct any questions to them.